Hello dear viewers, support me by subscribing to my channel and share my video if you like it, and also make sure you comment your thought. Now let's start the video. I was finally in Dorne after a month of traveling. The Sun's playground was the hottest region of Westeros by a large margin. Their terrain was pretty rocky, with a lot of mountains and sand being the only desert on the continent. Not exactly my cup of tea. I hate this climate more than anything. It was suffocating, but it would have to do for now.
Isn't it beautiful?
Oberyn smiled. It's unique, I nodded. I didn't want to say no, simply because sand wasn't my thing. But I wasn't here to enjoy the sights. No, I was here with one sole purpose. To discuss my alliance with Doran Martell. While it was true that Dorne was the least populous kingdom of the Seven Kingdoms, it was also true that Dornishmen were able to raise around 50,000 soldiers, and for what I had seen and heard from Oberyn, their fighting style was pretty much the same to the Unsullied, making them a force to be reckoned with. Well, while I would love to give you a tour, we have no time, Oberyn smiled. My brother is waiting for you, so let's make haste. Sounds good to me, I nodded. The faster I dealt with this, the faster I would be in the battlefield kicking the Lannisters' ass. Oh yeah, and Stannis' ass. It didn't take us long to arrive at the ancestral seat of House Martell, and for a second I felt I was still in Essos. The old palace had a unique architecture with a slender spear tower coming out of it, alongside a massive stone tower, with both stretching over 150 feet tall above the ground. The old palace had a dome of gold and leaded glass, making that the throne room, the floors were of pale marble. For them not being the richest house, their castle was one of the most expensive ones possibly. Odd, I thought my brother would be here. Oberyn hummed deep in thought. Since we entered the castle, he had taken upon himself to find his brother. Maybe this is his way to give me a tour. He must be at his solar. As we walked around the castle, down to Doran's solar, a girl rushed at Oberyn, hugging him. At first I thought that it was one of his many lovers, but I was proven otherwise, when she called him daddy, which still had me at doubt, but then he called her daughter, and to be honest I still wasn't completely sure. My king, allow me to present you my daughter, Tyenn Sand. Oberyn smiled, as the girl bowed, and holy shit was she different to her TV counterpart. Like a fucking lot. They didn't share any similarities at all. A pleasure to meet you, my king, Tyenn said in a sultriest tone, biting her lips. Jesus, does the horny runs in the family. The pleasure is mine. Not yet, Tyenn winked at me. But soon. I kinda feel I need to sleep with an eye open, or I will wake up with her riding me. Holy fucking Molly. Sorry, but I'm a married man, and I don't think your queen is into trios. Honey, for the sake of daddy's balls, don't hit on the king. Both him and the queen are very scary. Oberyn pseudo-joked about it. No fun. Tyenn pouted, as I was lost at how different she was to what I expected. So far everyone was somewhat similar to their show counterparts. Yes, they had their differences, but not by this much. Tyenn has a fair white, almost snow-colored skin, with golden hair and deep blue eyes with dimples bloom in her cheeks, and she also had a gentle, sweet voice, almost as if she was naive and innocent. Perhaps that was part of her game, to make others lower their guard. Father, you are back! Another voice came into the scene. Turning around, I found a woman around 29 years old, approaching Oberyn, with a smile unlike Tyenn. This one was easy to recognize, while she was indeed different to what I had expected. She wasn't so massively different that I would miss the similarities. If I was right, she was Oberyn Sand. Oberyn hugged her, as Tyenn just kept on staring at me, with hungry eyes. Did you miss something? I inquired, raising an eyebrow at Tyenn, who simply giggled in return. My king, Oberyn bowed. I apologize for my sister. She can't control herself at times. I could see she had a hard, tough look, with well-defined muscles that screamed she had dedicated her life to the martial art way. She was a warrior in all accounts. It's all right. Nothing bad with some window shopping from time to time, I smiled. It's when you get handsy that you get into some trouble. I love that. Oberyn laughed. I will use that line sometime. Now it was only a matter of time for the last snake of the desert to appear. I wonder how Nymeria will look. Would she be within what I expected or completely out of the spectrum, like Tyenn? Father. Bingo. Sometimes, if like the universe listens to my thoughts, inwardly chuckling, I turned around to see Nymeria running towards Oberyn with a wide, happy smile. Nymeria. Oberyn smiled back at her. and it seemed the only one out of the spectrum was Tyin, though Nymeria was considerably more attractive to her show counterpart. She had a nice figure, with straight black hair worn in a long braid, which pulls back from a widow's peak. She had dark eyes, which were large and lustrous, and her full lips were wine red and curved, making a silken smile. After she hugged the ever-living shit out of her father, she turned to me and bowed. "My king, a pleasure to meet you," I smiled. "We have heard great things about you. They say you are a great warrior." Nymeria smiled. "Perhaps we could spar later. Allow me to stop you right there." Oberyn chuckled, looking at his daughters. "While I have no doubt you three can beat any man, our king is no man. He is an untamed beast, with unparalleled skill in combat. And when I say that is because I experienced firsthand how massively outskilled I was against him. I couldn't even touch him. And if I'm being honest, he can probably take on all of us at the same time without breaking a sweat." Well, Tyin said, biting her lips. "Impressive," Obara muttered. "I suppose we can still learn from a defeat from him," Nymeria said, looking at me with, dare I say, admiration. "As much as I would love to kick your asses, I have someone to meet." I chuckled. "So how about after my meeting we fight? You three and your father against me." "That seems hardly fair," Nymeria said. "For you that is," I chuckled. "Sounds great, but the king is right. We have a meeting to attend to." Oberyn chuckled, leaving his daughters behind as we walked to Doran's Martell Solar. The Solar was like everything on this castle, incredibly expensive, with almost everything made out of gold or other precious gems. Fortunately for us, Doran was inside, sitting as he was about to eat fruit that kinda looked like an orange. "My king," I would bow, but you can see I can't. Doran Martell greeted me. He looked considerably older than Oberyn, even though they weren't that apart. Maybe whatever disease he had was affecting his looks. "It's all right, you don't have to bow now. We first have a lot to discuss, don't you think?" Yes, we do," Doran smiled. "Mick Fury Ravenicus POV. The same motherfucker that we had stolen the Dragonhorn had retrieved another one from the old city of Valyria. But I wasn't gonna let this bitch get ahead of us. Initiate bitch stranding plan, now," I cawed, ordering the Krakens to attack his ships. My plan was simple, after studying this motherfucker's routine. I had noticed he was always the last one to board the ships. With that in wing, I led all his men to board the ships, so that the Krakens would strike them down. "What in the seven hells?" Euron Greyjoy shouted in disbelief, seeing his ships and his other horns sink into the ocean. "Surprise, motherfucker," I said from above. It had taken me some time, but I learned that we could imitate human speech, and this worked well right now. "You talk," Euron Greyjoy said angry. "I remember you. You were that weird bird that took my horn." "That's right, motherfucker. Enjoy your stay, bitch," I said, as I got ready to leave, "and good luck telling others about this. Nobody is going to believe your ass." "I will kill you," Euron Greyjoy shouted in anger. "You will certainly try, but will fail." I replied, "You should feel lucky that your life belongs to the Cornbringer. Otherwise your motherfucking ass would be inside Jerry the Kraken." With that I flew with my squad out of the scene, leaving a very angry human behind. While Oberyn was a good ally and friend, what I really needed was to see what Doran wanted. He was the head of the house, and his opinion and approval were the things that would provide me with the army I needed. "Your Grace, what I want is not big." Doran smiled softly. "What I really want will be barely an inconvenience for you. I want House Lannister and House Baratheon gone. Out of the maps, out of the history." I knew Oberyn hated House Lannister, and while I knew they hated the Baratheons, I didn't know they were on the same level as the Lannisters on their hate list. "You want me to disband their houses?" I inquired. "Yes, I want every member of those two houses that survives to be nothing, bastards, beggars, whores. I want them gone out of sight." Doran smiled with hostility. "That was in general how I wanted things to be." I nodded. "I was already informed by Oberyn you wanted the main Lannisters for you to play, and I agreed to that. Anything else besides those two things?" "No, that's all we have ever wanted." Doran smiled. "So all that is left is for you to kneel, brother." Oberyn snickered behind his brother. "You have to make everything sound perverted, don't you?" Doran sighed in exasperation. "If not me, who else?" Oberyn smirked at him. "No one?" I sighed. With a lot of effort, Doran got off his chair, and slowly but surely started to kneel. I pledge my house and my people to your King Renard Mormont, first of his name. I smiled at his effort, as I walked up to him. For as long as I live, for as long as my house stands, we will stand by you. I gave the Lord a helping hand as I added, together we will bring upon our enemies the justice that has been denied to not only your house but the world. I desire nothing but that, my liege, Doran smiled full of hope, but his eyes denoted anger, not directed towards me. I knew that much, but still I could see his eyes sparkling with hate and excitement. After all, this was probably the first time in years he finally had the chance to let go of his emotions, because he finally had a chance to get his revenge. Well, it seems Dorne is yours, Oberyn smiled. It seems it is, I nodded. So about that fight you promised my daughters. Oberyn smiled. The king did what? Doran inquired. Oh, nothing, just a friendly match between allies, in which we will get our asses handed to us. Pretty badly, might I add. Oberyn chuckled. I suppose it would do us go to see how good is our king in combat, Doran sighed. Oh, believe he is good. Oberyn chuckled. Too good. I thinks. I wasn't sure how to respond to his praises, not really used to get them so often. The sand snakes of Dorne Venemy, I had to be honest, they were good. Better than the 80% of people I have killed, and at least 90% more lethal with all the poison they used on their weapons. If their opponent was anyone but me, they would have demolished the poor guy. With their amazing teamwork, coordination and skill, Oberyn alone was a beast already, and with his daughters alongside him it was as if I fought with a pack of trained animals. But regardless of their incredible skill and amazing teamwork, they met with a wall they just couldn't climb, and because of that, they were utterly defeated. One-punch style, I mean not literally. I knocked each one with a single punch after I got bored of dancing around them as I dodged their attacks. I have never felt so powerless, Tywin muttered as she turned to me. I like it. Jesus, I can feel the moist from here. Still married. Your skill as a warrior is outstanding. I can't wait to fight by your side and learn from you. Albara praised me. She had taken this defeat as an opportunity to learn from me. I'll be my pleasure, I chuckled at her enthusiasm. At first I thought Father was overselling your skills, but even with all that praise he came up short. I feel like a child trying to hit the sun. Nymeria chuckled from the ground. I'm glad beyond comprehension that you are on our side. Well, while I love winning, I think it's time we move an army to the south. I smiled, turning to Doran. Right? You are absolutely right, Doran said, getting out of his shock. It seems that the tales of my skills were considered among the population a tad over the top. Awesome, I smiled, deciding to try the local food while I waited for Doran to mobilize his army. Doran Martell POV. My opportunity for revenge, for retribution was finally here. I could already hear Typhon screaming in pain for me as I used his pain as a lullaby. The mere thought of seeing him suffer made my day, no, my life. And today was more than enough proof he was going to deliver them to me. His prowess in combat was inhuman, too perfect, too out of comprehension. He moved with such precision, with such grace, it was like he was born to fight. I had no idea if he would make a good king, and frankly I didn't care. The 7 kingdoms could burn for all I cared. As long as he did what he promised me, he would have my undying loyalty. And after that demonstration of power, I knew that he would. He was a breed for war, and for war, he was going. I almost feel pity for the poor souls that will get on his way. Get ready, men. We are leaving for the south in a week. I commanded. We fight for our king, for the justice that had been denied to us. For the king. For Dorne. The soldiers chanted with one voice, with stomping the ground, making the very streets of Dorne shake ever so light. Ned Stark, POV. Stannis was moving towards us, but why? He knew better than that. He was a war veteran. If he rushed at us and tried to attack us while we were at the Twins, he would lose. He had no chance against us, so why? Why would he commit such a stupid move? Did he have a secret plan? Some kind of plot I was not seeing. It didn't matter. Ronard had left me in charge, and I would stop whatever Stannis was planning, no matter what. We have to be ready for whatever Stannis is planning. Stannis was a very, very bad politician, but he was a good general. If he was moving, there was something I had yet to see. I have already ordered the archers to be ready. Jon nodded. Good. We will need them ready for when Stannis arrives. I nodded. Melisandre POV. My prince, my light, my master was here. It was time to end this once and for all. I had convinced Stannis that the God of Light wanted him to defeat Ronard with just 5,000 men, and that he used the rest of his army to attack the Lannisters at the same time. At first he was reluctant and almost killed me, but I showed him the fire, a vision of Ronard with the crown. But he didn't see Ronard but himself on the throne, and that was all it took to push him to his own grave. Soon we'll be together. I smiled. I couldn't wait to be his tool for war and pleasure. Tywin Lannister POV. Stannis was moving his entire army, or at least the majority of it, toward my house. Why and the how was beyond me. I knew Stannis was stupid, but this was a new low even for him. But it mattered very little. His move was stupid, and I would crush him down for it. And while we would lose some men, this victory would be worth it. Without Stannis on the game, I would be able to focus my entire self into erasing Renard off the map. This was the opening we needed to destroy Stannis. He had let himself wide open, and I would strike without hesitation, and if I had any luck, I would be able to absorb whatever Stannis leaves behind. Tell Shae to be ready. We are marching home. I ordered my men, as I walked out of the war tent, wondering what brought this stupid move on Stannis' part. I knew since the beginning he would lose, but not like this. Something else was into play. But what? Stannis Baratheon POV. The crown, the throne, the 7 kingdoms, everything was finally within my grasp. That vision, the fire showed me a king, a brave king fighting against the others, a king that was loved, feared, and respected, and that king was me. Finally, I would get what was rightfully mine, and bring Westeros to an era of glory and peace. Melisandre. My trusty advisor had showed me the will of the light, and I would obey, for I was the champion of the light, the paragon of justice. I was the chosen one, and as the chosen one I had to obey my God, for he had blessed me with his pure magnificence. And for me to bathe on that beautiful glory I saw on the fire, all I would have to do was to end Renard with an army of 5,000 men. Just that. At first I thought Melisandre was trying to kill me, but I was a fool to trust the emissary of my lord, my beautiful lord. She was but a messenger, and I had the audacity to strike her, because I doubted her words, the words of my God. We will win, because the light is with us. I cried out with a smile on my face, because it was true, no matter how many soldiers they had, no matter how many walls they had, no matter how many allies they had. In the end it didn't matter, because they would fall. No man can stand against the will of a god, and I was the will of light incarnated in flesh and blood. Do not fear, the light is with us. My king! I don't think this is the best idea, Davos muttered in a barely audible tone. The will of the light is absolute. Do not fear, Onion Knight. The light will protect you, I said as I glared at him. So stay silent and obey. As you wish, my king, Davos bowed as he left my sight. No matter how much my men thought I was crazy, it would be worth it. Soon the world would be mine. Sarah Davos Seaworth POV. She finally did it. That crazy wretch led Stannis into her same level. At first was tolerable. She didn't do much, burning the monuments to the 7. That was fine. Spreading the word of her religion. Sure, why not? But then she decided to turn the crazy a few thousand notches above, burning people. Kids, and here we are. Marching to our imminent death. 5,000 men against 8,000 men. Yeah, the God of Light was going to save us. He might as well burn us now and save Renard the trouble of cutting our heads. I suppose I should make peace with what is going to happen. I lived 40 long years, more than many. I had many kids. I did many things. Perhaps it was better to die here like a dog. The little lady will be sad, that's for sure, I muttered. That girl was so innocent, so naive, yet so smart. She even learned how to read better than me in less time. Not that I read very well, but still, 42 years old is not that bad. At least I will be remembered as an idiot, but remembered nonetheless. Joffrey Baratheon POV. Renard was at last here in Westeros, and it was finally the moment to show that worm who was the superior being. I would kill and destroy everything he held dear. His wife and children would be raped to death in front of him. Seeing him powerless would cement me as the most powerful king to have ever lived. His tears, his pain, the screams of his family, they would all bring me endless hours of happiness. I just couldn't wait. Soon, for now, you'll do, I laughed. as I decided to focus for the moment on what I was doing. Skinning one of the maids alive, while she wasn't, Renard, her screams of pain every time I broke some, or ripped something, was the best. You should feel grateful. A king seems you're worthy of his time, whore. No, hold her down, I will take her left eye out. Maid! The maid tried to scream, her terror overtaking her. Yes, this is what I wanted. Seeing her face, her pain, her suffering, this was the absolute best. Bob the Raven POV. I'm Gary. Unlike the majority of my high brothers and sisters, I don't have a unique trait. I don't wear weird clothes. I don't talk weird, and I am not a master chef. I just plain old boring Bob. And while I might not have special abilities and or personality like some of my brothers and sisters, I would still do my absolute best to serve the great Cornbringer. Scream, scream. I could faintly hear Joffrey shouting with pleasure. Deciding it was best to investigate, I flew to the source of the sound, finding Joffrey with a skinning knife above. Oh God. Caw! For the love of corn! Well, it's settled. Inbreeding between humans is an atrocity against every natural law. I cawed, leaving the area, feeling sorry for the poor thing under him, but soon that mutilated human would have the justice his or her mutilated body deserved. Ronard was that for everything justice and corn, not necessarily in that order. Daenerys POV. Yunkai was ours, with every masthead hanging on the wall of the city as a display of what happens when you try to oppose the might of the bears and the fury of the dragons. My queen, Daenerys said as he knelt down, there are reports of the other slaver cities preparing for you. No matter how much you prepare for a natural disaster, when it hits there is nothing you can do. No matter how much they tried or prepared, they would fall. My queen, Missandei said, as she entered the throne room of Yunkai with Geralt on her arms. The young prince has been asking for you for hours. Mermaid, Geralt babbled, extending his arms towards men eager to me, on my arms. The princess is sleeping, Missandei answered, before I could even ask. She was definitely the best babysitter I could ask for. You wanted to be with mommy? I smiled as I bombarded my sweet little bundle of joy, my treasure with kisses. All right, you can be with mommy, how can I say not to that cute face? Is like switch, Dario muttered. You said something, I inquired with narrowed eyes. He did let me burn him. Kiro flew towards him. He was now bigger than Bear. Could you please stop trying to burn everything? Rhaegar did the same, but for some reason slapped his brother with his tail. Now Tyrion is out there with Dad while we stay here doing nothing. It's not fair. I want to burn things too. Crow hissed at his brother, probably angry for the tail slap. I know, but focus that burning desire into other things, like training, or I don't know. Singing? Rhaegal hissed back calmly. Burning desire, was that a pun? Kuro narrowed his eyes at Rhaegal as he hissed. Maybe. Rhaegal hissed one last time, flying out of the room, with Crow chasing him close behind. I will get you. Puns are stupid. Alright. That pun didn't tip the scales in my favor. Arr! That was the last one, I'm sorry. Without Renard, I can only imagine what are they saying. I chuckled, wondering what were my two dragon babies fighting about. Alright, let's stop. I don't want this battle to drag on. Kyle will burn your balls. Maybe wisdom beyond human understanding. Or maybe just a playful game between brothers. No one would ever know. I woke up once again to the scorching sun of Dorne. Today was the day we were supposed to leave this litter box. Oberyn calls home. I have sand in places where sand should not be in any circumstances. But I had to be a good guest. But God, I hate sand.
My king, my father wants to see you.
Tywin said as she entered my room, without knocking. One of the many reasons I wanted to leave this place, besides my powerful hate for the sand around, was that Tywin was literally trying to get into my pants. Like really trying. And usual methods to stop this shit didn't work, because apparently she kinda liked that. The more aggressive I got letting her know I didn't want her, the more sexy I would become. Thanks, I'll be there in a min. I grumbled, wondering if breaking her arms would put a stop to her shenanigans, because not even Oberyn could. It's a pleasure, Tywin said, biting her lips, as she approached me with a hungry look. Okay, I tried being vocal about it, but that didn't work, so I'll be physical with you. I smiled with no emotions behind the smile besides annoyance and a tad of anger. Try hitting on me again and I will snap your neck. Is that clear? Tywin smiled. Crystal, my king, and even after a threat the fucking crazy bitch was horny. What is wrong with these people? I swears like she took what Oberyn had and turned that shit to 100. Like even Oberyn has a sense of self-preservation. But this crazy bitch has none. Even if I was single, I would not fuck her. Not at all. Rule number 1 of the man manual. You don't stick it in crazy. Begone now, I grunted, pushing the crazy woman off my room. Nick Fury, Revenicus POV. My mission to stop the bitch-ass motherfucker of Euron, who the fucking cares, was a total success. The idiot was stranded, walking alone, slowly succumbing to his imminent death, and I was here with my special squad, enjoying every moment of it. I can't die here. Euron muttered weakly. He was starving, and very weak. Oh no, are you dying? I flew toward a rock nearby. If so, let me get some corn. I want to enjoy this show. You fucking talking bird, I will eat you. Euron growled, crawling over to me. Oh no, if only I could fly. Oh wait, I flew off the rock. Well boys, load your guns and shoot. I ordered my squad, who did as they were told. Enjoy what's for dinner, bitch. Soon after, every raven took a number 2 on him. Enjoy is the chef's special. I will end your fucking species. Euron growled, his clothes and head covered in bird shit. We'll be back after lunch. The boys are practicing their aim, so we'll be back after every meal. I flew off with a sense of satisfaction after I said that. I wasn't entirely sure he would survive long enough to get anywhere. Back to Ronard POV. After my usually unusual morning, the ravens fill me in with what was going on in the twins. Apparently Stannis had decided to attack the twins and was marching to his own death. If I had to take a guess, Melisandre was behind all that. Stannis was way too experienced, way too seasoned in the art of war to come up with such a strategy. So let me see if I get this straight. Oberyn said, taking a deep breath. Stannis is marching towards the twins with 5,000 soldiers, while everyone knows you have around 5,000 soldiers waiting for you, plus another 45,000 coming from Dorne. That's the summary. Yeah, I nodded. That sounds like a very, very stupid idea, Doran commented, but I suppose we shouldn't complain when the enemy makes mistakes. I suppose, Oberyn nodded. Well, it's time to go, I said, clapping my hands, getting their attention. Now that we know Stannis is a thing of the past, we need to move fast, because this also means I'm the only target the Lannister have left. Wise choice, my king, Doran smiled. It took a week, but I finally had what I had come for. An army of 45,000 Dornish soldiers ready to fight and aid me in my quest. Time to board the ships, I smiled, happy with how things were going for me so far. Neltharion Mormont Ravenicus. Father had left me on Bear Island with one order. To wait for his signal. He wanted me to stay hidden until the time for me to flight with him into the battlefield came, and there was nothing I wanted more than that, to prove him I was a good warrior like him. A dragon in body, a bear in spirit, and a raven in brains. I would soon burn his enemies away, and protect our family like he does. The Lannisters. Fuck them. I'll burn them. The Baratheon fucks those two. I'll burn them. The champion of who knows what. Fuck that guy too, I'll burn him. I will be so strong that father will have to rely on me. Fuck yeah. I growled as I breathed fire into the sky. Stop that, a horse complained. You will start another fire. Last time we barely had time to stop it. Poor Jimmy will never be forgotten. You are right, poor Jimmy. He will be missed. I hissed in lament. Stop talking like I'm dead. Sometimes I can still hear him. The horse cried out. He was the bravest squirrel ever. For the love of nuts, it's no fun anymore. He was. I hissed, in agreement, holding my laughter in. Fuck you, overgrown lizard. Percy Lannister POV. The truth about me and Jaime was spreading like a plague that couldn't be contained. People were starting to question more and more the legitimacy of Joffrey. The only thing that placated them was that they feared our house. Rightfully so, but still, the whispers, the looks, everything I had worked so hard to mold was falling apart. But even all this was something I could deal with. What I really feared was at some point father would start asking questions and doubting my words. If he for a moment believed what those rumors said, he would kill us. Father only loved one thing, and one thing only. His legacy, and if he thought someone would destroy it, he would not hesitate to strike back. I'm afraid, Dame, I whispered as I rested my head on his chest. Don't be afraid. If push comes to shove, I will fight father for us. The entire world if necessary. Jaime reassured. Do you really have to leave? I inquired, wondering why did he had to go and fight for Casterly Rock when all that mattered was here. It's my duty. I fight for you and my children. Jaime chuckled, and I always will. Don't you dare to die or I'll kill you, I muttered. Only you could do that, James laughed. Elena Tyrell POV. Stannis has finally did it. He well full crazy on us. Attacking without strategy, without nothing, to think he was one of the many options I had considered. For an alliance knowing his wife was unable to birth him a boy. But I'm glad I didn't move the pieces towards him. But I suppose I can respect his stupidity to some extent. He is dying on his own terms after all. Not many men can say that. Once a stupid man, always a stupid man. Now that he had decided to die, all there was left was Ronard and his allies. This was where the real war started. Ronard had 3 kingdoms behind him, if we counted the Iron Islands he previously conquered. Grandmother, the wedding is in a month. Aren't you excited? I smiled, looking at the poor naive girl I loved so much. She was smart, but her own innocence and ambition blinded her to the truths of the world. She was marrying, and because of that, she would hold the title of a queen. But did that really matter in the end? If we didn't win, she was way too carefree for what was happening around. But I suppose it's my duty to worry for everyone in this family. For now, that is. I'm thrilled, I replied. By the moment I arrived at the twins, Stannis had been already captured by Ned Stark, alongside some of his close advisors. Among them were Melisandre, Davos, and some of his generals. There wasn't much of a fight, Your Grace, Ned Stark said as he bowed. I wasn't expecting much of a fight. While it was true I didn't expect much of a fight, it was still surprising he went all in with this stupid idea. The one they call the Red Witch wants to speak with you, Jon informed me. Very well, lead me to the prisoners, I said as I followed Jon, not before leaving Oberyn and Ned behind with one last command. Accommodate our new forces. As you wish, Oberyn nodded. It shall be done, Your Grace, Ned said, with a short nod. With that we continued walking as Jon led me to the prisoners' camp. I was genuinely curious as to what the Red Witch would offer me. By this point, I knew she knew I was the so-called chosen one. Fucking title. So the fact that she wants to help me is clear. The how is what actually concerns me. Just a bit more, Your Grace, Jon said as he guided me through the camp. How many soldiers did we lose? I inquired, trying to make small talk to kill the time in between. Around a 50, Jon muttered. I know it's an acceptable number, but I would have preferred none died. 50 soldiers sure was an acceptable number. Too fucking good. It's impossible to avoid losses in war times. The best we can do is honor those who died fighting for our cause. I know, but I don't have to like it. Jon sighed as he gestured to me with his hand to some cages big enough to fit humans. We have arrived, Your Grace. Thanks, Lord Targaryen, I smiled as I purposely mentioned his new last name, trying to see how he was taking that in. Jon shifted a bit, showing he was still processing that. My pleasure. With that he bowed and left. Stannis was glaring at me, with a defeated expression on his face. Anger, hate, self-loathing. Many things were erupting on his face at the same time. Davos was shackled close to him with an expression that said he was done with all the shit. Those expressions were easy to take in. What really creeped me out was what Melisandre was showing, pure and unadulterated bliss, as if she had just laid her eyes on God. Caw, does that bitch blink, or what? A raven asked in befuddlement as he landed on my shoulder, and I really didn't know how to answer that. The damn woman hasn't blinked since I got here. You know, you can blink, it's not you. Like we'll miss something. How can I blink when the light you bring is so beautiful, so magnificent? I can serve fire within you, is blinding, so perfect. It's more than I ever imagined. Melisandre said, tears running down her cheeks. Okay, another crazy chick. I seem to be attracting them lately. Now if you are done sucking my dick, metaphorically speaking, I want to know your plans. All I have ever wanted to serve you, Melisandre said, staring at me with happy and crazy eyes. And if I wanted to kill you, I inquired, narrowing my eyes. Dying by your hand would be the greatest honor anyone could ever hope so. Melisandre said, and I could see in her face she meant every word she said. I really don't like you. Burning people, childs. But unfortunately I think I need you. You are probably the only one that can answer some of my questions, and talk with the asshole that chose me, and decided to leave me alone, to deal with this. I sighed. I will let you live, but if you do one thing, One little thing that I don't like, or anything in general without my approval. I will do the one thing I think you would hate. I will let the Night King kill you. This got Melisandre's attention. She tensed up. After all, I had practically told her I was going to turn her to the Satan of her religion. I will follow your every command. So he was the chosen one. Stannis muttered with venom on his tone. How naive I was. How stupid I was. I don't really have anything against you, Stannis, but your life is a threat to my rule. I sighed. Stannis was my enemy, but I really didn't hate him per se. I mean, it much. He was an inconvenience for my plans. Just get this over with. Stannis growled. It seemed his spirit was even more broken than his army. If I could ask for something, your grace. Davos, the poor onion knight, in the show I found him to be a very likable, very loyal, but with terrible luck. What? I inquired. Can you spare Shireen? She is but a child is my last wish. If you could find it in your heart to. I knew where he was going, so I stopped him with a chuckle. I never wanted to kill her, but she will lost all her lands, money and social status, and seeing you care for her, it will be your duty to raise her. I chuckled. Davos might have marched against me, but with him I could spare to be merciful. He and Shireen were no threat at all to me. Ah, your mercy will not be forgotten. Your grace. Davos smiled. After that I released Davos and Melisandre. Davos immediately warned me about Melisandre and how she would turn me crazy like she did with Stannis, but I reassured him I knew she was crazy, and that she would not get in my mind. He, while not sure of my words, decided to believe me, and immediately left to pick up Shireen. Stannis' execution was northern style. He who passes the sentence should swing the sword. If you are to take a man's life, you owe it to him to look into his eyes and hear his final words. And if you cannot bear to do that, then perhaps the man does not deserve to die. Neda words, which were true, and as the northerner I was, it was the right thing to do. Any last words? I asked Stannis, my sword above his neck, ready to leave a clean cut. He who lives by the sword, dies by the sword, Stannis said. Very well, I nodded, bringing my sword down on his neck, decapitating him with a single swing, leaving a clean cut on his neck that assured his death was painless. Peter Baelish POV. Ronald had survived. I was as good as dead. Tywin would kill me the moment he came back from the war. I had to run. Perhaps if I played my cards right, I could win the favor of Ronald. But the point was, I had to escape the capital. But I had no idea how to do it. The guards outside made it impossible for me to communicate with my allies. I couldn't get out of the room, not even to eat, and I was under surveillance all day long. Varys, the old spider, while I hated the guy, he would surely help me. Of course he would demand something in return. But at this point I didn't care, as long as it allowed me to escape. But how? How could I reach the spider and his web? How could I reach my only option for escape? If I wanted to live, I would have to be more resourceful and clever than ever. I can't die here, not after all I have made, I said with resolve. While the Lannister were fighting the remaining forces Stannis had left behind attacking Casterly Rock, I decided to start marching with my army towards the Tyrells, destroying their major ally and only food provider. Normally, even with my army, this would not be easy. I had to be smart about it. One wrong move and the Lannisters and Tyrells would mobilize against, and in an unfamiliar ground they would and could overwhelm me. This is where Neltharion came into the board of this wretched game. He was still considered by many a myth or a lie on my part. I knew for a fact Tywin and Olenna didn't believe it, which meant they had no preparations for my dragon son. While he wasn't as big as he was in the show when Daenerys came to Westeros, he was certainly big enough to burn cities and trash armies down. And during this last push of war, it was time to reveal my card. Tywin was a genius when it came to war. His mind was born for it, and the best way to deal with someone like that was to attack them with an unknown factor, fast and certain, not giving them the chance to retaliate. Tell Neltharion his time, I ordered one of my ravens, as I walked towards Melisandre's chambers. My king, I have been waiting for you, Melisandre said, greeting me, opening the door before I even got close to it. Knowing this witch had the creep factor up to 11, I decided to ignore her antics and go straight to the point. I have some questions for you, I informed as I entered her room, taking a seat. I will do my best to help you, my light, Melisandre said with hungry eyes. Ignoring her thirsty look, I asked my first question. Some time ago, I had a meeting with the other champion. Immediately Melisandre tensed up. all carnal lust vanishing, as if it was never there. What happened next was what I want you to help me figure out. Did he do something to you? Melisandre asked with a hint of fear on her voice. No, it can't be. Your light is pure and uncontaminated. Yeah, he didn't do anything, I sighed, motioning her to shut up and listen for a second so that she knows what my real question is. He came to gloat about he was going to kill everything, and after he left, I started to angrily question why the fuck your god wasn't helping me, or at least the people he said he wanted to save. I stared at my hands for a second before continuing. Anger fueled me, and my body became hot. Very, very hot. The snow around me melted down, and there was steam around me. I even left some burn marks where I was standing, after I noticed that whatever it was happening went back to normal. So my question is, do you know what happened? Melisandre stares at me for a second, as she probably studied the facts of what I had just told her. R'hllor, the great and powerful R'hllor. He blesses his subjects with powers. Some can heal wounds, others are immune to fire. The blessings go from small to big. Taking me for example, the great R'hllor blessed me with magic. Powerful magic for a human, and thanks to that, I have lived on this world for hundreds of years. With this she took off her ruby collar, and her true form appeared. I made this with the blessing he gave me. With that demonstration out of the way, she put back on her collar, returning to her young self. If followers, mere and pathetic followers, get good blessings, I can only imagine what blessings he gave his champion. I already had some inkling to that, but how do I control it? It would really help me against the others, I asked, taking a deep breath in. Why gods couldn't just give powers with manuals in how to use them? For each, their own. Melisandre sighed. For me, I learned to harness the power the great R'hllor had given me through faith. But I can see you have no love for R'hllor. Melisandre chuckled, quite ironic, but not all sons love their fathers. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that you have to find your own way to control what has been given to you. So I was back to square one, not knowing what to do. Any ideas at the very least? Melisandre hummed. Ask your dragon sons. Dragons are the oldest sons of R'hllor. They might be young, but perhaps they can guide you better than I can, she sighed. Very well, I nodded. At least that was something. Anything else, my king? Melisandre inquired. I nodded. Yes. As you know, the others are weak to certain things. Getting a swift nod from her, I continued. I need you to find a way to forge Valyrian steel, or something similar. All I know is that blood magic and dragon fire were needed. Valyrian steel. I don't think I can replicate that without the Valyrian records, but I will try to create something that works similar to that. It may not be Valyrian steel, but will do the trick against the others. Melisandre said with determination. No killing, and if you must, it goes through me first. Is that clear? I glared at her. Your orders are absolutely my light. Melisandre nodded. Tywin Lannister POV. Destroying Stannis' forces was turning to be a child's game. No strategy meant they were vulnerable in all accords, and while losing men in our side was unavoidable, considering the numbers we were dealing with, we were doing beyond excellent. Our scouts said there still are around 20,000 soldiers left, but retreating, Gaiben said as he entered my war tent, as always, unscathed. We have barely lost any men. 2,000 so far. For each man we lose, they lose 10. One of my generals added with a prideful smirk. Don't feel pride on this victory. We might as well be fighting a child. I muttered with annoyance. Stannis went mad and forgot how to fight. It's good for us, but is frankly beneath me to feel pride in such victory. Renard, on the other hand, his defeat would surely bring glory to my house, for generations. A victory is a victory, Tyrion chuckled. But that leaves us with the big question. What's next? Renard, I answered calmly. I know that, but... How? Tyrion chuckled. He is a brat. He will fall when the time comes. One of my generals laughed. A child yet to be defeated, with an army strong enough to face us, and for the first time in history, with more gold than us. Tyrion said, shutting everyone up. Or have we forgotten he owns Bravos, and the Iron Bank now? Or the fact that he might or might not have 3 dragons. Maybe we are forgetting he technically has more kingdoms supporting him, that we do. You talk as if you think he will win, brother, Hammy laughed. If we don't prepare, we might as well roll our heads to him, Tyrion said.
And prepare we will, I said, getting a surprised expression from Tyrion.
As I told you before, I never underestimate an enemy. I did once, and look where he's at, fighting against our family for the throne. I won't give him a chance, not again. Maybe we could demand a duel, and use the mountain? One of my generals inquired. That would prove to be futile. If the information about him is anything to go by, he rivals the mountain is brute force. But fights like Arthur Dane, all we would do is lose a great asset. The mountain stands no chance against him. Is all the rumors are true? I shook my head off. To kill Ronard, we would have to overwhelm him. I decided to take this opportunity while Tywin was occupied with the Baratheons to attack the Tyrell, even though I was still waiting for some of my forces I had left behind on the north, Neltharion among them, but my ravens had confirmed Neltharion was close, and would join my main attack force before I even reached the Tyrells. As of now, I found myself in an unfamiliar place, an endless plain. This, after all, was the first time I had been in the south. In the far, far distance, I could make out a large formation of mountains, with their incredibly high peaks hidden in the clouds. So far there are no signs of men beside mine. Whether they knew I was coming or not was still left in the unknown. But it mattered very little if they knew. With Neltharion making the fire rain on them, their defeat was just a matter of time. Unlike the show, they didn't have weapons able to kill a dragon. Arrows were meaningless against Neltharion. Him alone would decimate great part of their army. We are close to the Tyrells. We are but a few days ahead, Your Grace. Oberyn informed me with a wide smile, ready to fight and avenge his sister. Though at this point we were friends, so I assumed he also wanted to fight for my cause. Just a bit. Thanks. I nodded. Is my daughter really hitting on you that hard? Oberyn inquired with a chuckle. Yes, she was. I nodded with a soft chuckle. Reason why she is marching with her sister in another group. I would say I'm sorry, Oberyn laughed, but I'm really not. This is hilarious. Not as hilarious as your face when my wife hears about it. I smirked at him with a devilish grin. That's a low hit. I thought we were friends. Oberyn chuckled. We are. That's basically why you still exist. I smirked. As we continued marching towards the Tyrells, I felt something coming closer, a shadow flying above me, with a loud growl spitting fire on its wake. It was Neltharion showing off. I'm ready to bring the heat. Neltharion growled, spitting a torrent of fire to the naked sky. Are you done? I chuckled. It's all about presentation, father. Neltharion greeted, rubbing his head against my chest with a low purr, as if he was a cat. I missed you. I miss you too. I smiled, passing my hand through his rough scales. We still were a few days off before we arrived at Highgarden, but now we were ready. Lovely. Whatever this moment is, Oberyn chuckled. A dragon. I thought they were nothing but legends, Jon muttered in disbelief, as he looked at Neltharion with awe. He smells nice, Neltharion hissed in a low tone as he sniffed Jon. He smells like Mom, but different. Well, they are related. I smiled at this. I didn't expect Neltharion to grow curious about Jon so fast. That was an interesting development to say the least. He would be your cousin. He smells weak, I suppose. I'll protect him. Neltharion hissed, coming to the conclusion. Jon was weak by the family standards he was used to. Ha ha. I don't think he needs protection, but be my guest. I shrugged. Is he talking with the dragon? Jon muttered. Yes, he is. Oberyn nodded by this point, completely desensitized with my shenanigans. How? I don't even know why I question things anymore. Of course he speaks with dragons. Ned Stark sighed in a defeated tone. That's mostly the gist with Ronard. Just stop questioning things and everything will be fine. Oberyn nodded. What is wrong with you talking with me? Neltharion asked with a low hiss, tilting his head in confusion. Is it because only you can understand us? Probably, I shrugged with a chuckle. Tywin Lannister POV. Ronard was moving toward Highgarden, which means he wants to destabilize our economy, cutting our only food supplier off the map. Smart move, but a predictable one. Taking countermeasures against this, I had set a few preemptive moves against this. I would let him march deep into Highgarden, and once his army was trapped, I would flank them. We knew the Targaryen better than most, certainly better than the Northerners, and while I knew this strategy would not win the war, it would weaken him by a lot. And that's what we needed to do. Weaken the beast little by little, letting him bleed out. His army, his resources, his spirit. Eventually he would lose the will to fight, and just then, when his spirit is broken, I would end him. That's how you kill dangerous beasts, and Reynard, while it pained me to admit it was a beast, With enough experience he would certainly become unstoppable, but he would never reach that potential. That was a Lannister promise. Ronald Mormont POV. 3 days later, as I continued marching, a raven flew to my shoulder, whispering with a low caw in my ear that Tywin was planning to flank me with a strong attack once I was within the Tyrell's territory. I was already suspecting something was up. Not finding any soldier for this long was already suspicious enough. Though the old lion was a great strategist, he didn't take into account many things, among them my oldest son, Neltharion. A flanking strategy was good until the flankers were burned to a crisp. I inwardly chuckled. If the old lion planned to attack or lead the attack, I would destroy the major threat I had. If not, I would at the very least capture his stupid son, aka Yume. I'm sure having his precious boy would put Tywin on an edge, though I still didn't know who was Tywin sending, so like Christmas all I had to do was wait and see what I got. I wonder, could I consider Tywin Head a good present, or coal? I chuckled. I have no idea what you are talking about, Oberyn muttered with confusion, but for me, his head would be the best present. Haha, I suppose you are right. Trash for some is gold for others, I laughed. Melisandre POV. My king had entrusted me to find a way to make normal steel effective against the others, and I would deliver. No matter the price, I would give him the results he was looking for. I had to. He was my light, and I would do anything to keep it safe. I won't disappoint you, my king, I said with resolve. No matter what, I would find a way in the fire, a way to help his radiance. Nick Fury Revenicus, POV. The squad had perfected their aim, not missing Euron's head every time they had to evacuate their vows, and I couldn't help but feel in this moment of my life proud of them. This is enough to make a grow raven cry. Noticing a tear rolling down my peak from my only eye. But not this raven. Unfortunately for me, I couldn't force the tear back into my eye. Good thing nobody saw this. Stop shitting on me. Euron Greyjoy screamed. Never, I cawed back. With Neltharion on my side, things would fall in line really fast. From afar I could already see Highgarden, and thanks to my ravens I knew where the enemy's army was hiding, and that they were planning to flank me. Now it was just a matter of time. With my dragon son hidden, I would have the element of surprise. With it, I would catch Tywin off guard and burn his troops to a crisp. Tywin was smart, but he was still human, and when facing the unknown, we humans panic. It's in our wretched nature. There's no one here. This feels like a trap. Your Grace, Ned Stark muttered. I smiled at him after all. I didn't expect him to catch up about that. That's because it is. Ned blinked in the realization that I knew about it and stared. We must warn the men. I shook my head. No, they don't have to know. I have been moving them around with the trap in mind. For now, they must remain ignorant. I had told my men to expect traps and stuff before leaving. Now it was a bit too late to let them know. It would create a mild panic that would alert the scouts following us and would stop Tywin from attacking. I had to let Tywin think he had me where he wanted, weaponizing his own pride against him. I see, Ned Stark sighed, probably understanding the motives behind my actions. If the mountain comes, let me have at it. Oberyn asked with a dark look on his face. I want to kill him myself. I knew for a fact. Oberyn could defeat the mountain, but I also knew his thirst for vengeance and his desire to hear him confess would end up killing him. I'm afraid I cannot. I shook my head, but I don't mind leaving you with Tywin, perhaps his son. Oberyn glared at me for a second. You think I can't kill him? I know for a fact you can, I chuckled, but I also know you lose too much skill when mad against someone like Tywin. That's not a problem at all. But against someone like the mountain will only end up with your head splattered against the ground. Oberyn kept on glaring for a few seconds before he sighed. I suppose to an extent you are right, he then smiled, and killing a Tywin is better anyways. He was the one to give the order. I nodded. That's right, as we continued marching towards Highgarden. A few hours later, just as we were getting closer to the castle, one of my men shouted, "Soldiers coming." I looked out behind, seeing a large group of men armed with spears, swords and hammers rushing toward us. But not only in that direction, in each direction I would see men rushing at us. Finally, Tywin had fallen for the bait I had laid out for him. Quickly I shouted at my men to be ready, still keeping Neltharion hidden. I needed them to be closer, so unsheathing my sword I galloped with my horse and men to the battle. I rushed into battle with a smile on my face, killing every enemy in my way. my blade cutting down enemies as I leaped from foe to foe. Spread and find the generals. Find Tywin. I could hear my ravens shout around in the battlefield, taking the initiative of finding the enemy leader so that we could take care of him fast. As I dance around the battlefield with grace and precision, enemy after enemy falls before my blade, fear spreading among the enemy soldiers like a disease, and for a good reason. I was terror of the battlefield, but even then, they refused to run. It seemed they feared Tywin more than they feared me. Intriguing. It was time. They were all somewhat close. Neltharion. I jump off my horse rampa with a primal scream, summoning my son into the battlefield from the skies, my sword gleaming with blood of my enemies in my hands, as its edge shape catches the sunlight. Seconds later, Neltharion appeared looming from above the skies, letting his presence be known with a powerful growl that shook the battlefield itself. The great beast of fire and flame was finally here, a mighty creature that would make fire rain on my enemies. Without waiting for a command, Neltharion knows what he has to do, and breathes a powerful stream of fire that consumes the enemy forces. Their cries of agony fill the air as they burn, some trying to run from the stream, only to be burned even by Neltharion's flames. Little by little, my enemies are destroyed, many of them burned beyond human recognition, with their bodies lying on the ground, corpses that will soon be forgotten as the battle moves on. We found Jaime. Koa. He is attacking from the south. Find Tywin and the rest of his generals. I ordered my feathery friends as I continued with my assault. Normally I would have gone for Jaime and killed him, but Oberyn was already on the south. That and he called dibs on Jaime. Jaime Lannister POV. Dragons. They were real. This little brat actually had the very thing that brought the Seven Kingdoms together, hundreds of years ago. Tyrion was right, Renard was to be feared. When Father sent me to lead this attack, I didn't expect to fight creatures that were thought to be extinct. This was stupid. One dragon and all our hopes of winning were off the table. Every minute the dragon was here, hundreds of my men would fall. I had to retreat. Father did not plan for me. What good are swords and arrows if you can't hit your enemy? Retreat, I shouted. But as I did, a spear landed dangerously close to my head, killing an ally behind me. I'm sorry, but you and I have a date, the Viper. That tone, that venom on his voice. There was no doubt he was Oberyn Martell. You don't want to do this, I warned him. Sword ready. Oh, but I do. Oberyn smiled, killing a few soldiers that tried to attack him as he approached me. You have no idea how much I want to. It seemed I would have to kill a viper before I escaped this hellhole. So be it, I said, taking a stance. Now, let's us dance for Ilya. Oberyn said with a dark look on his, and with a spear at hand. Tywin Lannister, POV. My son would come victorious on that battlefield. I knew that much. If he followed the plan to the letter, we would win. I had planned for every possible outcome. Ronard lacked the experience I had, and I would exploit that to the limit. Soon, all this madness will come to an end, and our family will stand above the bodies in glory. My legacy would finally be cemented on stone. My family would always be remembered as the ones that stopped the Targaryens, and all in a lifetime. After this, all I would have to do would be force Jaime out of the guard, so he can take his birthright. Soon, the fire was consuming every enemy on its path with ease, and soon enough my army was winning with little to no effort, and it was no surprise Neltharion, even though not fully grown, was a force to be reckoned with. His might was too much for the current military to handle. Don't let them escape, I said as I swung my weapon left and right, decapitating enemy soldiers coming my way. Valyrian steel plus super strength were sure the lethal combination. Come at me, fuckers. With a smile I took a deep breath in the middle of this battle, as I dodged the poor attempts the Lannister and Tyrell men were giving to kill me. Before I started moving around my opponents with my one sword in each hand, I proceeded to dance around them. With every move I made, a soldier would fall dead into the ground, a lethal tempo of art and destruction. I didn't have to command anyone right now, which in turn made me the best weapon. No hesitation, no cares, I just acted. After all, I had taken Tywin's plans, turning them into my toilet paper. He had failed. With all his experience, connections, and influence, he had ultimately failed. He had, like the rest before him, committed the same mistake. He underestimated me, and he was paying the price. I continued pushing the enemies back, with the Neltharion ensuring they didn't escape. All I had to do was show the Southerners why they should fear me in battle. Is that all? I taunted, feeling quite good about myself. Today was a great day to be me. Oberyn Martell POV. I stared Jaime a Lannister there for me to kill, and I couldn't help but smile. I was finally getting my chance to avenge Elia. Don't hold back, or I am going to break you fast, I snarled at him. Jaime shrugged his shoulders, smiled, and slowly brought one foot behind his back as he unsheathed his blade. Fine by me. Bading. With a dry chuckle, I rushed at Jaime with my spear ready, but he dipped and twirled around right as my spear was about to reach him. At that same moment, he tried to slash me upwards with his sword, which I managed to dodge just in time. I took this opportunity and tried to do a spin cut, but he parried the attack, reading my intentions very well. He was undoubtedly a good swordsman, but I faced better. In response, he tried to cleave my legs, but a quick jump above his cut proved to be enough to dodge the attack. Taking this momentum to my advantage, I took the blunt end of my spear, smashing Yaemon on the side, who in turn lost his balance for a second, but recovered with an upward slash that managed to cut a bit of flesh, nothing serious, blocking his next attack. I stabbed the lion in the solar plexus, trying to kill him, but instead I ended up knocking the wind out of the swordsman, and stunning him for a brief moment. The quick blow had opened Yenny up for another attack, and I always aimed to please, so I obliged him, doing what Renard calls a Spartan kick into Yenny's chest. Yenny, having recovered a bit, followed that up with a quick uppercut and a swift side cut with his blade that I managed to avoid being lethal. This is way more entertaining than I anticipated, I chuckled with clear venom in my words. Kraven gave me an apologetic shrug, with a face that said, I do what I can. Taking a deep breath, Guillaume lunged forward, quickly sprinting towards me and coming closer. I smiled as I ducked forward, dodging his attack, while trying to pierce his head. Guillaume noticed this and rolled forward under my attack in a swift motion, and sprinted at me again as soon as my attack failed. But this time I had a new approach. I had fought Ronard enough to learn a few tricks and new styles. With a smirk on my face, I raised my spear, waiting for the right moment, and it came when he tried to attack me. I delivered a quick cut on his arm as I jumped back to gain some distance, and dashed forward with my spear straight out in front of me. With Ronard, I had learned that small fast hits were my best shot. My plan was to destroy his sword hand, so I attempted to stab his arm, but he deflected the attack, barely in time. It was obvious now he was having troubles keeping up with my speed. Having troubles, oh mighty lion. Not at all, Jaime smiled, with that obnoxious overconfidence of his. Very well, I dashed forward, cutting his cheek with one of my attacks. We exchanged blows for a bit, as blood splattered everywhere. None of us was making any lethal cuts. I was faster, and he was fast enough to react, but I was a snake. People should not fear my fangs, but my poison, and soon the lion would understand that. Parrying his next swing, I noticed during this, a bit too late may I add, that the last attack was just a distraction, because soon enough his fist smashed against my head with brute force, making me lose balance for a brief moment. But this was long enough for him to deliver cut. He had fucked my left arm for the remaining of the battle. The kitty has some claws, who would have thought? You really got me there, I said, panting. I might have lost my left arm, but this was far from over. Bad choice of words. You can do better. Jaime smirked at me. Your last words have to be something symbolic. Good. It's good that you know, that way I don't have to explain that to you. Using one of Renard's smoke bombs, I dashed behind Jaime as he struggled to see, keeping his guard up, but this little surprise gave me more than enough time to pierce his right leg. But he swirled around, cutting my spear, with a flashing smile that shouted victory. But that soon vanished, as he started to scream in agony. The poison had finally kicked in. I shouted in deep, sweat-agonizing pain. You don't fight with honor, he said with anger. This is war. There is no honor. There are those who come back to their families, like me, and those that die with their so-called honor, like you. Not that I believed Jaime to have any honor. Besides, I'm a snake. That's how we play. Well then, snake, kill me. Jaime spat at me. Father will enjoy tearing your family apart after this. Haha, while I would love to kill you, I can't. I chuckled. Renard had ordered me to avoid killing them if I could. And luckily for me, I was able to subdue the lion, all in favor of getting Tywin. After that, Jaime would die. Is the snake afraid of the little bear? Jaime Lannister taunted with a smirk, trying to hide the immeasurable amount of pain the poison I had injected on his body was probably causing. Unbelievably so, I sighed. If there was one man I would never have as my enemy would be Ronard, a monster walking among humans. And you should fear him too. With that I smacked the lion out cold. I had won my first battle against the Lannisters. Do you see this, Elia? I did it, my sweet son. I'm avenging you. Just wait. I will put all these bastards in hell. The sun sure was shining today. Perhaps Elia was smiling at me. I had won this fight, capturing Ibe in the way, which would give me quite the political tool to use against Tywin, disrupting his calm demeanor by using his golden sun. Highgarden was on the way to be mine. The Tyrells still had more than enough forces to attack stationed in their ancestral home, and while a normal siege would take me weeks to months, with Neltharion it would take a day or two. I had to take this opportunity to push the enemies to their knees, before they came up with a plan to hurt or kill Neltharion, which meant I had for now to exploit Neltharion to the fullest. Burning my way to the throne. After all, I had bigger concerns beyond the wall, and wasting time playing games with these imbeciles was not a priority. You did great, I praised my dragon son, who grinned in return. You are a great warrior. Of course the same had to apply to me. Neltharion hissed with pride. He always wanted to prove others he was my son beyond words. I chuckled at the dragon antics as I ordered him to rest. While he himself didn't want to admit it, he was tired. Breathing torrents of fire for hours had taxed him quite a bit, and we had to recover our strength. For tomorrow, this garden and its lands would be ours. Not only that, but I also needed to rest, because in every battle I would push my physical limits to kill as many soldiers as I could, ensuring we always had the upper hand in any battle, and while physically I would still feel energized, my mind would grow tired. Though this time, this effect was worse. It seemed hours of fighting, no matter how easy they were, could slow down even a super soldier. I need to rest, I yawned. Hello there, Oberyn greeted, getting in sweet way to my tent. Little did he know he would soon face my wrath if he didn't let me sleep. I'm super tired, so be gone for now. Not only I had been fighting for hours, but the last few weeks I had been sleeping very little. Maybe the stress of the upcoming battle was affecting me, more than I cared to admit. I just wanted to thank you, Oberyn chuckled, for letting me fight, Jemmy, and for trusting me to not kill him. Letting out a sigh, I smiled at the wounded warrior. You deserve that trust. You are one of the few that I feel I can trust. With that said, I started to walk to my tent, not before leaving the snake with one last message. If you wake me up, your brother will have to fight for you. After all, he will have a higher battle prowess. Oberyn took a step back, with a playful smile diffusing the situation. I would never— Good, I nodded, finally getting to the one thing I missed right now. Almost as much as my family in Essos, my bed. Finally, and I knew it wouldn't take long for the sweet embrace of sleep to take me out on a trip, giving me the well-deserved rest I so much desired.
And US POV.
Yunkai and the other cities my husband Runard had conquered were under control. But even with the might of our dragons and army, small rebel cells were rising, and while this was something Runard himself knew, it would at one point happen. I couldn't really understand how could anyone be so stupid, even if they managed to defeat me, which was a big if. They would unavoidably fall once again under the wrath of my husband. So far, the rebels were easy enough to deal with, but I knew I had to stop them before they became a real threat. No enemy is too small, no man is too weak. So with that in mind, Braavos was for now my safe haven, having no nobles alive and the people of Braavos fearing my husband. Everyone was nothing but compliant. While I wanted nothing more than to prove Ronard I could help him. Finishing what he started, I had also taken into account I was a mother now, and that was bigger than the crown and anything else. For now I had decided to first ensure the cities we had under us, to be in absolute control, before moving with our conquest. The slightest mistake could prove to be fatal to my babies, and that was something I could not allow. The twins were our greatest strength and weakness, and I would ensure their safety no matter what. I miss you, I cried weakly under the moonlight. A queen should not show weakness, but I was weak without him. How much I missed his warmth, his smile, but I knew soon we would be reunited. Bernard Mormont POV. Next day. The morning sun was shining brightly, and I couldn't help but smile at what was coming ahead. The remaining forces of the Tyrells would face the might of my army, and I would claim these lands for me. Too bad for that to happen, the Tyrells would have to die. Bad for them, that is. The more we marched, the closer the last battle on this part of the South was, looming behind the gardens. My men were fully rested and ready to fight, but the one they had to fear was also the most eager to prove himself once more in the battlefield, Neltharion. And maybe with enough luck, the tales of my dragon son would spread among the 7 kingdoms, bringing them into their knees, without a fight. Dragons, after all, were the very beasts that brought them together in the first place, and once again they would— "We are here," Ned commented, pouting at the army ahead with a very grim look, around 30,000 soldiers, ready to be slaughtered. Perhaps Tywin was nothing but false propaganda, or the Tywers were acting against his wishes, and stayed to protect their land. Either way, it worked for me. "We stand once again," I shouted, getting the full attention of my army on me. In the heat of battle, I smiled. "Let's show these flowers why they shouldn't fight us." By this point my army was stomping the ground, shaking the very ground with battle cries. I was the first to gallop in the battlefield, cutting hundreds of arrows coming my way, as a single thought crossed my mind: cute. Giving the signal with my left hand, Neltharion descended into the battlefield, with a growl that thundered the very air, shaking the resolves of each enemy. "Lit them on fire, son." Neltharion nodded, and a stream of fire started to burn beyond recognition. All the archers, one by one, their screams filling the air, with pain and agony, and in their faces the sour realization, they had no hope of winning this. "It seems fire is super effective," I chuckled, as I covered the gardens with the blood of the fallen flowers. Victory was mine, and so were the Tyrolands. Now I wonder, what move will the old lion take against me? He must surely know, with all that experience, when he is being defeated. I suppose time will tell. It took but a few hours to dismantle Highgarden defenses, a child's game with my dragon son burning through them, and a very easy at that. Most of the soldiers surrendered, too afraid to face a dragon in battle. Those who didn't surrender tried to fight or escape. Unfortunately, they failed completely at both attempts. No horse can outrun a dragon. But not all victories are sugar-coated. Tywin Lannister, even with all his faults, had apparently prepared for the imminent scenario of me winning this fight. "That old bastard," I chuckled, coming to the realization that all the banks of gold and food in Highgarden were empty, and considering how through the old lion was, I knew for a fact I would not find a single coin or wheat within the castle walls. He had played his hand well, very well, but even then, he had made mistakes, because the fact that his son being was in my hands was undoubtedly a miscalculation on his part. Though this fact brought an important question to my mind: how did Tywin manage to do this, without me knowing? My spies were still unknown for him. That much was for sure, but even with all the ravens I had on him, he used another person. The realization came to me like a thunder. My ravens had orders to follow the main players of the game, and only them around. After all, I didn't have enough ravens to keep one on each person in the world. So while my ravens were out of his radar, he must have noticed something, and in the way found a hole in my net. Impressive. But this was nothing but a small victory for the old lion. With his methods being unveiled, it would be easy to control all his moves, and it wasn't like I needed the gold. Thanks to Brevas, I had more than enough more to deal with this war. "Your Grace," Ned entered the room. I was occupying, announcing his presence. "The men are securing the castle." "Was that all?" I inquired. Normally Lord Stark would avoid talking unless it was important. He was what I call a man of few words. He only spoke when his words would have a meaning. "No. I wanted to request for the men to rest here for a fortnight," Ned added with a hopeful look. "The Tullys have agreed to bend the knee, and I think it's wise to wait for them. It would give the men time to recover," he stated. And he was right. For me, marching perhaps wasn't that taxing, being a super soldier and stuff, but my men were not. A fact I happened to forget from time to time. "Very well," I nodded, deciding it would be most beneficial to have every man available at my disposal, because it was most likely that the next battle would open the throne for me. After all, I would go for Tywin next time, killing the lion and the threat he poses. "I'm grateful, Your Grace," Ned Stark said, and soon after left the room. 2 weeks to rest and recover were more than enough time for the Tullys to arrive, and the stories of Neltharion to spread left and right, which in turn would start my favorite part of the game, the physiological part. "Let's see your next play, old man," I smiled. Olenna Terrell POV, 2 weeks later. My son had lost our ancestral home, the very thing the roses of Highgarden had protected for centuries, and how much time did it took the kid to do it? A month. Maybe 2. This was preposterous. And not only that, but somehow Tywin had managed to convince my son to move all of our assets to King's Landing as a safety measure, which pointed out very clear that to Tywin we were nothing more than disposable assets, pawns on his game. Though this realization was hardly something new, I always knew this was the case with the old lion, but I never expected him to corner us so badly. If I had to take a few guesses about his plan, I would say he knew that this event would end with Runnard taking Highgarden under his control, which in turn would force us to stay in King's Landing supporting them, reason why he convinced the idiot I have for a son to move our assets out of our ancestral land. Clever cat, I muttered angrily. I was definitely growing older. In my 60s I would have been able to see this plot. The old lion wanted us cornered. He wanted to leave us no choice but to help him. Whether it was for honor, for our house, for blood, or because we didn't have any other choice. But much to my pleasure, the old lion was far from flawless. He had made a bunch of miscalculations. For one, the dragons ended up being real. And 2, and probably the most poetic one, he had lost his second, the one human weakness he had, his precious son, and last but not least, he thought he could manipulate me. My son might be the lord of our house, but I run this garden, and it was time change our approach. Dragons, and losing our house, was something I didn't sign up for. And after this awful turn of events, it was very clear to me now that Marguerite would never be queen, and I rather have my grandchildren alive, instead of having crowns under the ground, and perhaps it was not too late to make some alliances with the bear. Now, how do I break up the news to my granddaughter? Marguerite was smart, but very short-sighted, and I knew she would object, so I had to tread carefully, for now. Tywin Lannister POV. He had my son, Jaime was on his grasp. I had made a terrible mistake, but how could my plan backfire so terribly? No, that was a stupid question that I already knew the answer for. Dragon, my plan didn't account for them. I had made a miscalculation because until today, they hadn't made an appearance on the battlefield. Not here, not in Essos, and thanks to my skepticism, I had lost my son, my only son. And the worst part was, I had nothing to exchange Jaime for. For all I knew, he was already dead. No, Jaime was worth more alive to control my moves, to chain me. Runnard knew that much. My son was a weapon, and the young bear would not hesitate to use him against me. Fuck it all. In anger I smashed my fist against the stone-hard wall, resulting in immediate bleeding on my part, but I didn't care about it, nor felt the pain, because all of this was my fault. I said over and over again that I was not going to underestimate him, and like a moron, I did just that. I underestimated the bear, and lost my son. As Lord Stark had said, the Tully arrived 2 weeks after Highgarden conquest, bringing with them food, weapons, and 10,000 men ready to fight die for me. But I had to keep it together. I had to find a way to save my son, and win this war. I had to find a way to save my legacy, but for the first time in decades, I didn't know where to begin with. Taking this opportunity, I had now to make my next move, and attack Casterly Rock, because I knew that would lure the old lion out in the open, which in turn would be the end of his long career. The men are ready to march. We are waiting for your command. Your Grace, Ned said as he entered my newly acquired solar, alongside Cat's younger brother, Admiral Tully, a eager lord, ready to prove himself. But sometimes eagerness only leads to failure. After taking that useless piece of land that it was Casterly Rock after their mines ran out of gold, I would turn my undivided attention to King's Landing, destroying my enemies once and for all, at least the ones within this side of the wall. It will be an honor to fight by your side, Admiral Tully stated with the utmost admiration, which by itself took me by surprise. After all, it was no secret, his older sister hates me. Ned Stark nodded. I will let the men know. And with that Lord Stark took his brother-in-law out of my solar as I prepared for the upcoming battle. I smiled at his enthusiasm, wondering if only the woman on the Tully family were crazy. We will leave to Casterly Rock soon, I informed the lords. Attacking Casterly Rock, leaving them no room to prepare, was the best course of action. Considering they are still barely processing the fact, a mighty dragon was on my side. I turned to the Raven. What news? As I was about to leave the solar and talk with Neltharion about the upcoming battle and what was our strategy, a raven flew into the solar landing on my desk. Caw! I bring news. The spider is planning to use John, the raven cawed. I see. It seemed the spider had yet to learn who was on top of the food chain, and I would gladly be his teacher for that lesson. Keep an eye on the spider, and if he breaths out of line, let me know. But for now, dealing with the spider would have to wait. His time was already set on stone, and besides he was at much an inconvenience. With no real power to be a real threat, he would die. But after I dealt with the more problematic players of this game. But for safety measures, I would still have to talk with Jon. I knew he would never betray me, or anyone if he could help it, but I still felt like it was my responsibility to talk with him about this situation. Lord Targaryen, I smiled, offering him a seat. We need to talk. Your Grace, Jon's voice got my attention. It seemed I wasn't going to need to look for him. Jaime is requesting to talk with you. Jon looked at me with a worried expression, probably wondering if he had done something wrong, or if I had something for him to do. After a long second of silence, he took a deep breath and sat. In what can I be of service, Your Grace? Jon inquired. I would never betray you, Jon smiled, as he took the liberty to add a joke. Uncle? Haha, Uncle. Well, I suppose I am. I did marry his aunt, but it was weird when we both had the same age. Then again, seeing Jon joke was weird enough. I never thought you would betray me, but that man can manipulate you into doing something you may not think as a betrayal. That's why, from now on, the spider is a kill-on-sight target. Well, it's about a spider. I started telling Jon in detail everything about Varys and how I thought he planned to use him. Jon was shocked and reassured he didn't even want to be a lord, saying he would never go against me. After all, I was family. I understand, Jon nodded. So you said Jaime Lannister wanted to talk? I asked, going back to the point he had previously talked about. Aye, Jon nodded. Very well, I nodded, wondering what Jaime wanted from me. Either way, this would prove to be entertaining. Varys POV. The young Griff was probably dead. After all, it had been months since I last heard of him. While this was a sad turn of events, I couldn't lose my focus. After all, I had a real Targaryen available, ready for the crown. Jon Snow had ended up being a Targaryen all along, which was something I myself could confirm. But unfortunately for me, Ronard had found out first, putting the rightful king under his claws. I had to do something to bring the realm their rightful king, and I had to do it fast, because I knew that as soon as Ronard won this war, my head would roll, not only because he knew of my deals with the young Griff, but because he had vowed to kill me for my indirect involvement in the assassination attempts on his wife and kids. But finding a way to deal with Ronard was easier said than done. He had shown to be a very capable man, with a terrifying amount of information at his hands, and besides killing him would amount to nothing. Well, aside the fact that we would have to deal with a very angry dragoness. To deal with Ronard, I would have to find a way to kill him and his family at the same time. Cersei Lannister POV. Every path I take leads to a dead end. I sighed. I had quite the work cut out for me, but deep down I knew I shouldn't be complaining. It was my fault. Ronard grew to be this threat. I gave him a queen and he became a king. I made the monster that is destroying all my plans. I was the one to blame for all of this, but it was still not too late to redeem myself from this catastrophic error. But first I had to secure Jon on our side. As the last heir to the throne, his role would be crucial, but unfortunately for me, this had also proven to be a difficult task to accomplish. Jon had no desire for power, but it was just matter of time before I found something to push the young dragon on the right path. And it was all thanks to Illyrio, who before dying paid the Alchemist Guild to produce more than enough wildfire to destroy our common enemy. No matter how good the kid is at playing war, the fire would consume him, ending this charade, once and for all. Father had lost the first battle against the bear, losing not only Highgarden, but Shammay. Terror filled my nights, wondering if he was still alive. That idiot, how could he leave me alone? He promised he would never leave me alone. Father promised me we would win, and in the end, they all lied to me, like always. But I would put an end to this. I would destroy the Ronard myself, ending his pitiful attempt at the throne. It will be quite the show, I muttered darkly as I eyed at the window, where a raven was sitting, ruining my view. Begone. I swayed the raven off the window. I will caw. Take a dump on her wine next time, caw. The raven cawed at me from the air before flying off. Nick Fury Ravenicus, POV. What are you doing? Inquired. I was going to meet with my squad today to see how was our favorite toilet doing. To my surprise, I found my entire group poking at the man with sticks. Caw. He hasn't moved in 2 days, sir. Caw. One of my squad members said as he poked the last eye Urine had. So, do we still take shits on him? One of my ravens asked, holding a piece of corn with jalapeno on his peak. Yeah, the motherfucker is dead. I called at my squad. I mean, if you want to, we are leaving anyways. I answered as I asked, why the jalapeno? I couldn't help myself. I wanted to know. Well, it kinda made my ammunition be all fiery, burning his eye and stuff. So he was eating it to make his poop spicy. I don't know if I should feel proud or concerned or both. It's both. Empty, that was the only word I could use to describe Casterly Rock right now. There were no men to defend it, nothing to stop us, and I couldn't but be apprehensive of the idea that Tywin had let us take hold of his castle, without a fight. I didn't have to be a genius to see something was clearly wrong. Tywin was not man to give up, and that was an unshakable fact about him, which is why I knew the old lion was making his play. We leave in 10. So move the fuck up. I called as I flew off the area. What play? I still had no idea. After all, my ravens had yet to update me in the situation. But even without their information, I still had a general idea as to why he had abandoned Casterly Rock. Because he had nothing to protect there. Not for now, no gold or food. He had taken everything, like he did with Highgarden, leaving me with lands that served at the moment no purpose. But even though logically speaking, I understood why he did, I never expected him to do it in the first place. Not a single coin or bread, even the people are starving. Ned muttered with clear anger on his voice. He left how people to die. I eyed Lord Stark, wondering what he expected from the coldest player in the game. Tywin only cared about his legacy, and if he had to lose a few times to keep it, he would not hesitate to do it. That was him, someone ready to give everything, for his goal. Tywin is a man of numbers. He had no time to move an army to protect Casterly Rock against us. He also knows that he can't defeat Neltharion, so he must be trying to delay us while we secure the lands while he finds a way to kill what he considers to be my best weapon. So what are our orders? Oberyn inquired as he limped to my side, still recovering from his injuries. Little did the old lion know, I wasn't going to take his bait. I would not give him the time he needed to prepare, because whether he liked it or not, his time had come. What about Casterly Rock? Jon Targaryen asked. We move forward, I informed the lords. We will have time to deal with this place later. For now, we need to destroy those who sit in my throne, I stated, leaving no room for questions or doubts. I had delayed this moment long enough. By mercy they Lannisters had survived, but everything must come to an end. It's not like you will lose anything, Oberyn nodded, pointing out the fact Tywin had moved everything. Not that he had much to move, after all. His gold mines had been dry for over a decade. What about the people, Your Grace? Ned inquired. I sighed as I realized Lord Stark had a point. These people that the old lion had left to starve by taking their crops were my subjects, and a good king helps its people. I will leave some food, and for the moment, that's all I can spare, I stated. After all, there was no room for too much kindness in the harsh reality of war. I will see to it, Ned Stark nodded, not completely satisfied with my answer, but happy nonetheless. Leaving Casterly Rock to his hands was a hard decision. A very hard one to make. I had but no choice. With the men I had close, all I would do was weaken our own cause, even more. For now, I would have to let him win. For now, Tywin Lannister POV. In the meantime, I had to find an efficient way to deal with his dragon, the only thing keeping him alive and ahead of me in the game. All the other things he had at his disposal, like the almost endless amount gold he had, or his army composed of men that were fearlessly loyal, didn't matter. Everything was nothing but easy to eliminate. Everything about him was easy to destroy. Expect that dragon, if he had brought the other two with him too that I heard he left in Essos. Well, being honest, he would probably be on the throne, drinking wine out of my skull if that was the case. But that dragon was far from being my only problem. Shamey, I had to save my heir. My only son. I knew he was alive, because I would know, thanks to Dorne, if he died. I knew the snakes and they would not miss the chance to brag about his death. But unfortunately for me, dealing with a dragon was something the libraries could not help me with. All the books said the same. They were immune to poison with scales harder than steel and fire hotter than the sun. Lord Han Varys said as he entered my office, announcing his presence. Varys, get to the point, I sighed. I had no time for his riddles and tricks. We both have an enemy in common, and together we might stand a chance. Varys stated, by all men, tell me what is your idea. I chuckled dryly. Poisson, Nah, he is immune. Killing him in fight. My eyes widen at the revelation. Wildfire. Brass smiled. Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. Our king probably has the crown by this point already, Daisy said as she approached me. Septa Baristan sell me POV. I had been tasked by my king to protect and serve the queen and the royal babies, making sure they were always safe, with no worriers. Yes, I chuckled. Nothing will stop my cousin, we bears are stubborn, Daisy added as she started to walk away from me. That much is true, I inwardly chuckled. Ronard Mormont POV. Unfortunately for me, that wasn't all the things the future had in store for me. Things like the fight between champions, the light within me, and the horde of walkers that one day would come across the wall. I smiled as I contemplated what awaited me in the near future. A throne to call my own, therefore melting the ugly piece of furniture, the pleasure of killing Joffrey, and the opportunity to reunite with my family. God or no, I would win this. And I would do it not because of what Jon thinks. After all, I didn't fight for humanity. And I certainly didn't face the Night King because he was evil. No, the real reason was my family, my sweet little angels. I wanted to give them a better tomorrow, and a safe world to grow in. As safe as it could get here anyways. We will be ready for that great value version of the Lich King, I nodded. After all, I refused to die at the hands of a creature that had taken hundreds of years to complete a single task, breaking a fucking wall. Things good will be. Yours, but darkness is moving forward. I see. Yours. The corn must be balanced, rod a cod with wisdom. Oh God, the depressing neither was back. Not the raven I needed right now. I thought you were in mandatory therapy by the ravens. Existence is meaningless. Life finds a way so that others can hear it, painful truth. The very next morning, I decided to start moving south with the entire force of my army to King's Landing. The sooner the better. After all, it would take me around 2 months to get all my army to them, and being that my intention was to strike the city before they could come with a plausible strategy to fend me off, I had to move fast. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. Not only they had all the wildfire in the world right now, but they also pretended to use it as a safety measure to keep me out of the city, mind-blowing everyone, enemies and allies alike, with the explosion. My ravens had informed that Cersei and her father had acquired all the wildfire the Mad King had commissioned during his time, and most recently, what Illyri had ordered, having every single drop of that well hidden under King's Landing, ready to be used. Which is why I wanted to strike before they succeeded in making King's Landing a walking bomb, more than it already was. But I had something they still haven't accounted for, thanks to the massive lack of information they had about me. That amount of wildfire was too dangerous, and while I was immune to fire-related weapons, my soldiers were not. But I had something they still haven't accounted for, thanks to the massive lack of information they had about me. I had animals on my side, from mice to dragons, but the question was how to use them to neutralize the wildfire. Small animals like rats and mice could probably delay the explosion by blowing on the candles used as a fuse for the explosion, but that would only delay them a bit. Then again, I had no idea how many rats and mice were in King's Landing, but if the stories about the city were right, I would have more rats under my control than men in this continent. That was considering what Oberyn had said about the city being a rat nest. Which, if that was the case, taking the city would be a piece of cake. One rat was harmless. Kinda, but thousands. No, millions of them. Well, that was a biblical force to be reckoned with. Quite literally. Now that I think about it, that sounds like the best idea to eliminate the wildfire in King's Landing, and on the way fix the smell situation going on there. I smiled, remembering a small fact about rats. They eat shit, and not in the metaphorical way. Rats and their family practitioners of the art of coprophagy, aka the art of eating shit. And while it was true they prefer to eat other things like nuts and berries, they would eat poop if needed. And with millions of them, I might have the solution to the sewer problem in King's Landing. If not, at the very least, they would be useful to improve the sewer flow stuff. In short, they would be my secret weapon, and personal plumbers. Maybe I will call the Mario Gang. Caw. What are our orders? One of my ravens asked. In what can I assist you, O great hunter? One of my newest birds. A falcon that apparently had climbed the ladder of ranks within the animal part of my army said. Bring me rats from King's Landing, I informed the 2 feathery warriors, being very clear with the fact I wanted them alive. As you wish, The falcon nodded with enthusiasm as he darted out of the window at full speed. Crero. The new guy sure is eager to help. Even the falcons see the might of the corn. You provide caw. Falcon, falcon, falcony, falconeer POV. It took me months, but I had finally managed to enter the Raven Circle of Knights as its newest member, serving the greatest hunter of them all, the Cornbringer, our master. I was the first falcon to reach this high, and I would not disappoint my master and embarrass the Pride Falcon clan by failing him. He wanted rats. He would get them all. A falcon, falcon, falcony, falconeer or FFF, for short, had promised him rats, and FFF always delivers. Caw! Fitzef! Wait! I stopped flying, as I waited for a raven to catch up. Car, you sure fly fast. Car, anyway. Make sure you report to the raven in charge in King's Landing. I nodded. I will. Good, good. Then go. Make the Raven Knight Order proud. I didn't have to be told twice, because that was my plan all along, and perhaps just perhaps, if I worked hard enough, the great and benevolent Cornbringer would make an order of falcons, something the little chicks could look up to. Tywin Lannister POV. Cersei was not the smartest of my children, but at times she would have great ideas, like hoarding the wildfire under the city, as a last resource to take Renard with us to hell, should he win. Not that I wanted to resort to that, it was frankly in strategy that screamed we thought he was going to win, and I didn't think that, not entirely at the very least, we still had a chance. The only real threat was that overgrown lizard he had on his side. Without that creature, victory was attainable. Because no matter how good of a warrior he is, with strategy and numbers he would fall under my feet. So in the end, as I formulated a plan to kill those dragons, I indulged my daughter, letting her turn the city into a bomb while I used half of the wildfire as my own weapon, to fight the advantage he had over us with that dragon. Fighting fire with fire like the spider said, burning his men to death, and if I was lucky, burning him to death. I had already set some rudimentary defenses with it. With some of them being things like explosive arrows and such, the bear was up for a surprise. After all, we lions adapt so that we can better hunt our prey. I will save you, my son, nay, even if it means burning the 7 kingdoms, I muttered. My son, after all, had a duty to complete. He had to continue the path I had built for my house, our house, and after this, he would do it whether he wanted or not. I was done with his idiotic dreams of being a knight. Olenna Tyrell POV. The young bear was moving, and it was my chance to save my house. Flowers and fire don't fight. That worked, but in the literal and metaphorical sense, we bent the knee to a dragon, hundreds of years ago, for a reason. Grandmother, but surely we can. Marguerite was still trying to find a way to keep her current arrangement. She wanted to be queen so badly that it was weighing her down. What use does the crown has if you don't live to enjoy it? You won't even make it to the wedding. Do you want to live? Or die thinking you were almost a queen? I scolded at her. But surely, father and Tywin, Marguerite started to ramble once again. My son is an idiot, and Tywin is outmatched. So use your brain. Even the women in my family lacked what has kept me alive so long. Common sense. But Marguerite started to cry. Bah! If you can't be a queen, maybe your future kids can, I sighed. Jon Targaryen POV. King Ronard stared out of his tent, engrossed at the orange-colored morning as the sun rose over the camp. Something that I had come to learn is that Ronard enjoyed starting his mornings this way, watching the sunrise, as if it was his only moment of peace. He had spent much of his time, if not all, fighting for a better country, for the future of all humanity, and while he kept everyone at bay with a smile and a sarcastic comment, every now and then, I knew deep down he could not keep this much longer. The stress was taxing him heavily. Deciding it was time to say hi, I cleared my throat, making my presence known to the king. Renard in return took a deep breath without even looking at me, as he said, "'Tis a beautiful morning, is it not?" "Aye, it is a beautiful morning, sire," I nodded with a smile. "But we must make way to King's Landing, as to follow your plan of striking fast and certain. Preparations have been made to depart after you break your fast. The horses are saddled and await your command." "Oh, yeah," Renard chuckled. "Defeated by my own words. Ha ha. But you are right. I just follow your orders, don't blame me. Blame the game," I smirked at him. The king turned his attention to me, looking at me with a smirk of his own. "Ah, let me guess. You've been hanging out with Oberyn." I gave the king a mischievous grin, as I asked, was it not you that told more like this? Once again defeated by my own words, Ronard laughed, as he stood up. It was me who told you all those things. Aye, I nodded. Then, my king, shall we go to break your fast? Aye, I don't see why not. Let go eat some breakfast. The king nodded. Tormund POV. My entire tribe was dead, and so were almost everyone I knew, and here I was running desperately through the dead cold forest, trying to get into the safe areas those weird-looking kids created. Fear was a luxury beyond the wall, but here I was with my heart racing as I began to panic at the sounds of many creatures running behind me, and I couldn't help but feel fear to what was chasing me. The images of the dead rising and hunting my people down were burned into my mind, making it so every time I close my eyes I see them screaming in pain, begging to be saved. I was both angry at myself for not being able to defend my tribe, and afraid of dying without being able to fight back. Those two emotions pushed me to run faster. The weird-looking children said, soon someone with the power to face these creatures would come. Fuck. They were gaining on me, and my stamina was depleting swiftly as I struggled against the weight of the food I had gathered for those who had survived the slaughter. I could hear the screams behind me, the growls of hunger and desire to kill me. But I didn't turn to look. Fuck that. I wanted to live long enough to help the magical fucker deal with these pests. Go and gather food, I panted. It will be easy, they said. As I was about to make it to the hideout protected with the magic of those weird-looking kids, I felt a dull pain in my abdomen. I grunted in pain as I looked down where I felt the hit and saw an arrow jutting from my stomach. Taking a deep breath, I took the arrow with my right hand as I withdrew the said arrow swiftly out of my body as the blood pooled around the wound. Great, they learned how to use bow and arrows. Get the food. Let's go, Tormund. Ygritte hissed at me, as she and one of the weird-looking children helped me with the food I had gathered, taking all the weight off me. I turned around to where the creature was coming, pulling my axe from my back as my free hand clutched instinctively at my abdomen. You two run, I will stop the fuckers right here. As if on cue, the disgusting creature appeared, missing his jaw and with its left arm dangling at an unnatural angle holding a bow. All this package accompanied by the rotten smell of decay that was beyond disgusting. It seemed the horde had stopped chasing me after a while, because I could see only one of them, which was a relief. With that in mind, I steeled myself, getting ready for battle. I glared into the creature's milky white eyes, devoid of any emotion, nothing but darkness. Come and get me, you undead piece of shit. The walker in return grinned mockingly as he shook his head. Stop running from your fate. Why would you avoid something set on stone? I will kill every living creature in the world eventually. Don't fight a pointless battle. What great offer. Let me think about that. How about no? Fuck you. Like I was going to pick death. Fuck that. I might be afraid, but I wasn't an idiot. Very well, live for another day, but soon your children of the forest will fail to hold me back, and I will consume you, like I did with your tribe, and like I will do with the world. The walker smiled, which was disturbing without a jaw. All I heard is the whines of a bitch too scared to fight the one that is coming to fuck you. The weird-looking children, and the old creepy man that was somehow fused with a tree, told me of someone called the Light Champion or the Prince that was promised was coming, and that him and him alone would defeat this fucker. The young bear will fall in time. Death is not a matter of if, but when. The walker growled at me. Sorry, I don't speak bitch. I chuckled as I threw my axe at the monster, cutting his head off. God, that felt good. Ygritte, POV. Tormund once again decided to fight the walkers, instead of running into the safe circle. He's probably dead. I doubt it. The children of the forest shook her head. He was facing one, and one in bad state. He will probably come victorious, but I admit your human friend is reckless. He is, I nodded. He knows nothing. Ha ha. Tormund's signature laugh caught my attention as he ran towards us. But before he even managed to approach us, the children of the forest attacked him, throwing a firebomb at him. Hey! The fuck? Tormund jumped out of the way. What is the meaning of this? I asked the children. He was marked, the children stated. If the Night King marks someone, they become a beacon for him. Oh fuck. I will turn? Tormund started to panic. And so was I. No, but if you enter the safe area with the mark, you would be giving him the access to enter and destroy us. The children of the forest explained. Any way to solve this? I asked. Yes, I can erase the mark. The children nodded. Then why the fuck you attacked me? Tormund growled. Because you were a few steps away from killing us all, the children stated with a calm tone, making both me and Tormund go cold in realization. Marching and arriving at King's Landing would take me and my army a couple weeks, but this time would not be wasted. I had sent one of my hawks to King's Landing with a mission that would, if my plan worked, ensure my victory. Things of course were a little bit more complicated than I had originally thought. Tywin had apparently decided to weaponize part of the wildfire, and I had to reluctantly admit his ideas were good. He wanted to dwindle my army with long-range attacks, using the wildfire in a variety of ways that showed why he was feared among his peers. But regardless of what he tried, he would die, and I would prevail. All he was doing was delaying the inevitable. 1 month away from the throne, 1 month away before I focus on the real war beyond the wall. Tormund POV. The battle is lost. A calm voice spoke aloud, full of sorrow and loss. It was one of the few survivors that had managed to escape the Night King. Humanity will fall. I don't know why we even try. Arangan, one of the warriors, had survived, said as he lifted up a chipped and damaged spear, raising it above his head for a brief moment before he plunged it downward. Fuck you all. I growled with anger. How could they even think of giving up? Even if the champion of shit doesn't come to fight this monster, we must fight. Even if we are going to lose. We must fucking fight. We are not going to let this fucker win that easy. Everyone looked at me for a second. I could see they were tired of this. After all, we had been fighting for months, making no progress at all. While every battle would weaken us, the monster would only grow stronger. I knew this was impossible to win, but I'd rather make that fucker work for my life. Because I won't willingly give it to him. We are fighting waiting for a champion that might not even exist. Arangan shouted angry. What are our proofs? An old man that can't move? Or the bunch of freaks that follow him? Since when do the free folk needs a hero? Euclid said with a bored tone, clearly tired of this facade. If he exists, good. If he doesn't, then let's do what we've been doing for hundreds of years. Let's survive. Finally, someone with fucking brains. I growled in approval. The champion is occupied right now, Leaf, one of the weird-looking children, said. On what? Orangon scoffed, still not believing a word. He is fighting a war on the other side of the wall, because he knows that the only hope of winning is by having a united front. Leaf answered, not paying any attention to Orangon's rude attitude. If he comes ignoring his problems beyond the wall without that united front, he will lose. Humanity stopped the long night once. But they stood together for it, and this time the Night King not only has bigger numbers, but is stronger himself. So is our champion. A raven with 3 eyes spoke. Nothing is like it should be, but we must prevail. This is beyond our personal desires or wants. This is a battle to decide if humanity survives or not. I couldn't help but still be startled at the fact the old tree guy could speak through ravens. It was unsettling. You heard the 2 creeps. We must stay strong. Fuck the champion if he doesn't come. Fuck him if he comes. But don't give up, I shouted. Leaf stared at me before leaving. Well, not the desired result. The 3-eyed raven muttered as he watched the people slowly calming down. But it will do for now. Benjen Stark POV. It has been almost 3 months since I left to scout the area, as it was one of my many missions as the first ranger of the watch, and what I found brutally murdered my brothers. The others, I had found them before. But this time they were different. They moved in an almost sentient pattern. They weren't the mindless creatures I remembered. Not that they were geniuses now, but they were certainly different. They moved and act in ways that one could think were strategies, to hunt and corner living creatures. I had survived their first attack by sheer luck and the sacrifices my brothers did buying me time. But in the process of running away from them, I had lost any way to go back to the wall. The others had made sure of that, so while I was alive, I wasn't sure for how long I would be. Food was scarce to the point I had killed my horse just to survive, but that would only last me so much. I had to find a way to return and warn my brothers. Unlike my first encounters with the others this time, I knew they were preparing to cross, and we needed to be ready for it. I really hope John and everyone else is okay in the wall, I muttered with a deep sigh. The last time I saw John, my nephew, he wanted to become a ranger like me, and explore beyond the wall, and I couldn't help but wonder if he was okay. Tyrion Lannister POV. Father and sister had gone mad, utilizing one of the most if not the most volatile substance in the world to fight in the war, it was most likely we would kill our own men with it, than any of Roddard's. But at the very least, Father wanted to weaponize the substance, unlike my dear sister that wanted to make King's Landing a fucking bomb, with the not at all argument of if we can't have the city, no one can. Was I the only one seeing the fucking red flags? I knew my sister was crazy, but this was beyond Mad King crazy. And worse of all, is that Father approved of her idea. I mean, he didn't say it, but everyone knew that if he didn't like something, that something would never come to happen. Which means that he silently approved of her idea. Perhaps it was best for the Seven Kingdoms to have someone like Renard sitting on that rotten thing they call a throne. God knows anything is better than Joffrey. Family or logic, what an awful situation I find myself in. I sighed. Joffrey Baratheon POV. I still didn't have Renard his dragon bitch and his babies in front of me. This was unacceptable. I was the king. My words were the words of a god. Because I was a god. I was born to rule the world and do with it anything I please. Because everyone within this stupid world was my toy. And as the god king I wanted to see that pretender suffering. I wanted to see his face as his dragon bitch wife was being raped by every man in my army. I wanted to see his face as his children suffered the same fate, and just when all his family starts to drown in their own blood and waste, just then he has nothing left to lose. I would take my sweet time ending him, and yet he was still free, avoiding my divine punishment. I am the king, I am a god, and I want my enemies suffering. I want it. I shouted. I need a raise. Caw. King's Landing was just one day ahead, and while the throne was just sitting there, waiting for me, I had to be careful. Tywin had done an amazing job weaponizing the wildfire against me, with catapults ready to throw all he had at me. If I wasn't careful, I would lose many able men, a commodity I couldn't afford to lose, considering that I needed every man and woman I could possibly have to fight against the army of the undead. I had yet to hear from the hawk I sent to King's Landing. He was possibly busy with his assignment, which was weird on its own. Considering what I know about the city, he should have the rat, or mice. I requested right now, but like they say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. With that mentality at hand, I had created a backup plan, with the same objective, of neutralizing the wildfire, and while originally I wanted to destroy it because it was a very unstable substance, I had decided to do otherwise, mostly because it would be a very useful weapon against the others. My plan was simple, capturing the ones with the authority to use the wildfire, the Grand Maester, Cersei Lannister, and Tywin Lannister, and just in case the idiot sitting on my throne, Joffrey Baratheon, they were the only ones that had the authority to use said substance. How to kidnap them was the hard part. I had to infiltrate or corrupt someone within their ranks, maybe Olenna or Tyrion. They both had their reasons to betray the current regimen. Olenna because she was old, but not blind, she probably knew by this point I was going to win. And Tyrion, he hated his family, at least everyone but his brother, though it remains a mystery if any of them will actually ally themselves with me. But it was clear that an idea was at least worth trying. But the real question was, who to send for this mission? We should rest before the battle, Oberyn said, bringing me back to reality. Taking a deep breath, I turned to look at him. Sounds about right, I don't want anyone too tired. I will start setting up the camps, Jon added from afar. Very well, I nodded, still trying to figure out a way to get within the enemy lines. Not only would the wildfire be useful for me, but neutralizing it would save a lot of my army. And then it hit me, a way to get to Tyrion, whores. All I needed was a few willing whores to chat with Tyrion. Let's see if you really love your disgusting family, Tyrion, or if you have any common sense, I chuckled. Bruh, Daenerys POV. After some time, I had finally managed to stabilize the cities we had conquered, erasing every single rebel before it became a problem. And while a part of me wanted to go out and finish what my husband had started, I decided to wait. I just couldn't risk the life of my babies. Nothing is worth that. But this sounding piece was a double-edged sword for me. Now that I had nothing but menial tasks to do, to keep myself occupied, I was ruthlessly reminded my husband was on the other side of the sea, fighting for our throne, and while I knew he was probably the best warrior on the known world, I couldn't help but worry about his safety. He had Neltharion on his side. He would protect him if anything went wrong. I knew he would. If I was the mother of dragons, he was the father of dragons, and his sons loved him. I knew that Neltharion, Crow, and Rhaegal loved him, and they would die for him if push came to shove. Mama, Gerard smiled at me, blowing me some kisses, while his sister took a nap above Crow. Yes, my sweet little bear, Mama is here. I smiled at him, kissing him on the cheek. I never thought loving something so much was possible, until I became a mother. It was as if they became my sole reason to live. I loved them so much that it hurt. Orlena Tyrell, POV. It took some time to convince my granddaughter of my plan. She wanted to be queen so bad she almost considered dying, but not all fights are worth fighting for. Sometimes it is better to let things go. Now it was just a matter of convincing my son, who was a very, very, very stupid man, to go with us to Ronard's side, which was easier said than done. Every time I spoke with the man, he would ramble about how could I even think of giving up the chance of Margaery being the queen of the Seven Kingdoms. Morose thoughts, but he would go accept my plan, and I would save this house, regardless of his compliance. I would stop House Tyrell from sinking any lower. After all, his compliance has never been a factor on my plans. But a mother must always try, even if she already knows what their idiotic children will do, and choose, a mother must always try. Too bad, I had to drug my own child to save him. Tyrion Lannister POV. Why was I even here, fighting for a king that will never amount to nothing? Well, maybe being even more crazy than the Mad King. Fighting for a family that doesn't and will never love me. Or was I perhaps fighting for Tywin's respect? Either way, I wasn't sure anymore. Why was I even supporting this? I knew the moment this war ended, I would meet my end in a mysterious accident, probably orchestrated by my dear sister, or father, or nephew. Frankly, anybody but Jaime would try and kill me. I had long served my purpose. Perhaps if I helped Ronard, he would be lenient with Jaime. There isn't enough wine to deal with this shit, I muttered. My Jeremy Lannister POV. Was father really capable of defeating Ronard? My entire life father had been something I considered unbeatable. A mountain that can't be moved. But this kid was very good. And while I chanted to myself over and over again that we would win no matter what, a little part of me didn't believe a word I was saying. Dragons united Westeros, and dragons the young bear was commanding. You don't get more prophetical than that around here, a bear that married a dragon, a bear that commands dragons. So perhaps my doubts were not unfounded. I miss you so much, Cersei, I muttered. You will see her in hell soon. From afar I could see Ronard coming to my cell. Hell, what a nice place I suppose. Better than here, I shot back. I suppose, but you are probably wrong about something. Ronard chucked, taking a seat in front of my cage. On what? I smiled, trying to show him. Nothing would bring my mood down. Well, on the sins that are bringing you to hell. Ronard smirked at me. Banging your sister. Nah, I mean gross, but not something I consider you should go to hell for. Reproducing with your sister. I mean maybe. Joffrey is a pretty big sin in itself. Killing the Mad King, aka my father-in-law. That's probably the highlight of your life, to be honest. I actually applaud you for that. No. The real reason you are going to help is because you never killed the real monsters within the kingdom, just because they were family. How dare he? I did what I could. By what right does the bear judge the lion? By the right of the sword, Renard calmly replied. You pretend to be a hero and yet you are going to kill children, my chi nephews. I stopped myself from admitting anything. I will, Renard nodded. Then, if you succeed, I'll be waiting for you in hell, after the gods judge your sins. I smiled at him. What are gods to a non-believer? Renard chuckled as he started to walk away, nor without leaving me with some parting words. Don't think so high of the gods, little cat. They are assholes. Elena Tyrell POV. Drugging my son was easy. Now it was time to contact the young bear, and avoid House Tyrell downfall. I didn't even like the Lancers to begin with. I just reluctantly accepted this alliance because Margaery wanted to be a queen. But no crown is worth it if you can use it for more than a week. Perhaps it was a sign from above that she wasn't destined to be a queen. 2 kings she had been betrothed, and both had been destined to die. But she could always aim for her kids to rule the kingdoms one day. After all, Renard had 2 kids, a boy and a girl, both without betrothal. Father is feeling sick, Margaery commented. How long will the drug take to knock him out? A day or 2, I replied. The drug I had given him was very powerful and would put on a bed for weeks. After that, we will send a raven to the young bear. I see, Margaery sighed, taking her leave. Remember to tell the foolish of your brother to not mess the plan up, I added. Tyrion Lannister POV. I had come to a decision. I was not going to let my family destroy this kingdom just because of their pride, because of that idiotic nature of, if I don't have it, no one will. It was utterly pathetic and cruel to sentence thousands to death just because they felt they couldn't win. Maybe there was a chance for a family to win. Father was a pretty resourceful man, but it was the chance of defeat that frightened me, because my family had decided to destroy everything just so Reynard didn't rule it. I couldn't in good conscience allow this. It was inhuman to stand by and watch innocent people suffer because they couldn't fathom the possibility of defeat. Besides, there were only 3 people I wanted to save. Marcella, Tommen, and Jaime. The rest of my family was despicable, to say the least. And if I helped Reynard, perhaps he would allow them to live. Bronn, I have a mission for you. Well, for both of us, I said, turning my gaze into my sellsword bodyguard. And what is that mission? Bronn replied with his trademark wolfish smile. I need you to help me kidnap my youngest nephew and niece, so we can go and talk with Reynard, I answered, making Bronn spit out all of his wine. Oh yeah, and escaping King's Landing with them, that too. You must want me death, Bronn chuckled. I won't do it, pal. I like living. Time to use Bronn's one and true weakness. Gold. Reynard is the richest man alive. He owns the Iron Bank. He will pay you handsomely, very handsomely, if you do it. Bronn stopped for a second, pondering over that. How handsomely are we talking about? Small Lord handsomely, or Big Lord handsomely? Big Lord handsomely, I answered, smirking internally at how easy it was to exploit his greed. Well, I suppose life is too short to not take any risks, Bronn smirked. I'll do it, but he better pays me, or I'll kill you, little guy. Don't worry, he will, I nodded, hoping that was the case. Then let's get to it already. We have some royal kids to kidnap, and I have a fortune to get. Bronn smiled. Reynard Mormont POV. I was a day ahead of the border of King's Landing, but instead of rushing to attack, I had decided to wait, letting my men rest in the meantime while I waited for my infiltration plans to work. But by what my ravens had informed me, I might not even have to do that. Both Tyrion and Olenna were betraying Tywin, therefore betraying Joffrey and Cersei. In the end, things were playing out wonderfully for me, and I didn't even have to do anything, but wait for the card castle to fall. The bases are ready, and the men are rested in case you want to start moving, your grace, Jon informed me. Not at the moment, I replied with a smile. I still have to wait for some allies to come. Jon looked at me with befuddlement, but didn't dare to ask. As you wish, your grace. Soon the 7 kingdoms would be mine, and I would have all the peace of mind I needed to prepare for the long night. Melisandre POV. I had finally managed to accomplish what my sweet prince had requested of me, creating steel that would work against the others. It took me some time, that was filled with a lot of try and error, but I finally had it. My result was no Valyrian steel. In fact, it was the same as normal steel, but blessed by the god of light to work against the others, meaning my light, my sweet and pure light. My prince had more weapons to fight the others. I had completed his task, just like I had promised, but I couldn't stop here. I needed to make sure he was more than happy. I needed to make sure he would think of me, and indispensable, and that is why I decided to create more items alongside the blacksmiths, blessed armors, blessed arrows, anything that could help my master win. I will show you, master, what a loyal servant is capable of. Cersei Lannister POV. Victory? Defeat? Nothing really mattered anymore. If we didn't win, Reynard would lose. If we won, Reynard would lose. No matter what, that bastard would meet his end, one way or another. That much I was sure of, or should I say, that much I would make sure of. Westeros was mine to rule, and if I couldn't rule, then it would burn. I would not step down my rightful place without taking everyone with me. I hope you are ready, young bear. I hope you are ready to hear me roar. The males in the pride lead, but the females hunt, and the bear had yet to fight a lioness protecting her territory, and he would see soon enough why lioness are feared. Nulfarian Mormont Ravenicus. Father was close to get the piece of land of this side of the sea, and yet he looked like it was only the beginning. The others, like he calls them, seemed to be the enemy, clouding his mind with worry. But I wasn't worried. My father was an unbeaten beast, whose fire burned the brightest in battle. I could feel the fire within him, growing stronger every single day. That fire would burn his enemies. I was sure of it. Father has never disappointed us. He has always come on top, no matter how hard the challenge was. He always proved to be superior, better, stronger, and this time it would not be the exception. And if the rare case of him not being enough came to happen, we as Dragon Sons would fight by his side to the very end. Against all odds, the four of us together would be more than enough to destroy anything that gets in our way. I will protect our family, Father. Don't worry, you don't have to carry this weight all alone. Tyrion Lannister POV. We had one chance to escape with Tommen and Myrcella out of King's Landing. Cersei was mostly with Joffrey all the time, meaning we have a big window of time to put the kids to sleep and escape the city, but we had to do it fast. If by any chance Cersei suspected of my plan, hell would rain on me. Quite literally, so I had to act fast. I had two options. Each one was more risky than the other. One, escaping during the day, acting completely normal as to not raise suspicions, or during the night. During the night, the security was considerably tighter, with any movement being reported the very next day, or if the situation called for the same day to a superior officer, that would inevitably lead to Father knowing. During the day, this was way more or less restricted, because merchants would come and go, but during the day they would probably see the kid, if they were through enough, or in the worst case scenario, Cersei would notice, something that was less likely during the night. I say we do it during the day, Bronn yawned. Just act like everything is fine, and nothing will happen. The main problem is my sweet sister, I said, almost choking on the sweet part. If she finds out before we get out of the city, we are as good as death. But during the night, the guards have direct orders from your daddy to stop anyone getting out, even you, little man, Bronn stated, with an oddly serious look on his face. Our best chance is doing our suicide mission during the day. All we have to do is knock the brats out cold, and if luck is in our side, we will live long enough for me to be rich and for you to do whatever you want to do. I suppose, but we would have to time it right, I hummed in agreement. My dear sister usually goes to court after breaking her fast, so we will have enough time during that window. Then it's settled. Now it's a matter of who will knock the brats out. Bronn chuckled. No one will knock them out. I will give them something to sleep for a bit. That's it, I sighed, hoping my plan worked, for my own sake, and the few members of my family worth saving. Olenna Tyrell POV. I had written the letter, and the Raven was ready to contact Runnard. I can only hope the brat doesn't reject my offer. To the most excellent Lord Reynard Mormont, by the grace of the Seven, the rightful king of the Seven Kingdoms, we can only hope to be faithful subjects of your grace, wishing to observe your reign following it with fidelity. Wishing you health, we must say we have been misinformed and misdirected by the usurpers on sitting on your throne. We were blind, but now we are not. As it is plain to see that those who are present with you have suggested to your highness many falsehoods respecting us, and what do with want, intending all the mischief that they can do, not only to you but also to us, and to your whole kingdom. We wish your excellency to know that we wish to preserve the safety and security of your person, and that of your queen, prince and princess with all our might, as the fidelity which we owe to you demands, proposing to overthrow the usurpers to the utmost of our power, and all those who are not only our enemies but yours too. That includes the foes that lie within the whole of your kingdom, and if any other statement saying we are not loyal to you is said, do not believe it, for we shall always be found to be your faithful subjects. Olenna Tyrell, of House Tyrell, and Marguerite Tyrell, of House Tyrell, offer ourselves to serve and obey. All we ask, if your excellency accepts, is to keep guarding Highgarden for you, as we have done before. Are you sure this will work? Marguerite inquired nervously. If that doesn't work, nothing will. I sighed as I tied the message to the Raven. We are offering ourselves to him as nothing but his loyal servants, in exchange of keeping our land for him. Father is finally out, sleeping soundly. The drug worked wonderfully. Marguerite sighed, taking a seat. Good, I don't want him awake for any of this. I nodded as I set the Raven into the skies to complete his one and only purpose, delivering my letter. Brynden Rivers, Three-Eyed Raven POV. From what I could see through the root of the sacred tree, Renard was winning the war, and soon would face the Night King. But things on this side would not be as easy as they are on the other side. The Night King was planning something, but I just couldn't risk trying to see what, for if he managed to mark me during a vision, he would get access to the shelter I had formed, destroying all life within. I had to wait for the champion to clash with the long night. I had to ensure humanity survived. I was the keeper of history, and history I had to keep. The Night King, he is not the same my people created, Leaf stated. You already told me about that, Leaf. I nodded. Yes, but I've been going over it, and I think something changed it, made him stronger and smarter. Leaf said, with a grim tone. I also knew that, what is the point? I inquired with curiosity. What if his one weakness, the one thing that can kill him, is not the same? Leaf said with a worried expression. I haven't even considered that. Was the Night King still vulnerable to the same thing he was before? No, he must be. Why would the light send a champion that can't beat the long night? Even if the weakness is not the same, Renard must be equipped to find his new weakness. Don't worry, Leaf. Renard changed the song, and while I still don't know whether or not that's good, he has proven over and over that he is capable of impossible things, I calmly stated. I can only hope you are right, Leaf replied. Deep down, the guilt of creating the monster that hunted all life was eating her, and there was nothing I could do for her in that. Hope is our only weapon right now. I smiled. To the most excellent Lord Ronard Mormont, by the grace of the Seven, the rightful king of the Seven Kingdoms, we can only hope to be faithful subjects of your grace, wishing to observe your reign following it with fidelity, wishing you health. We must say, we have been misinformed and misdirected by the usurpers on sitting on your throne. We were blind, but now we are not. As it is plain to see that those who are present with you have suggested to your highness many falsehoods, respecting us and what doeth want, intending all the mischief that they can do, not only to you but also to us, and to your whole kingdom. We wish your excellency to know that we wish to preserve the safety and security of your person, and that of your queen, prince, and princess, with all our might, as the fidelity which we owe to you demands, proposing to overthrow the usurpers to the utmost of our power, and all those who are not only our enemies but yours too. That includes the foes that lie within the whole of your kingdom. And if any other statement saying we are not loyal to you is said, do not believe it, for we shall always be found to be your faithful subjects. Olenna Tyrell of House Tyrell and Marguerite Tyrell of House Tyrell offer ourselves to serve and obey. All we ask, if your excellency accepts, is to keep guarding Highgarden for you, as we have done before. I had received a letter from Olenna Tyrell, stating they were nothing but my loyal subjects, meaning I had 5 out of the 7 houses under my control, and while victory was almost certain, I had to play my next move with the utmost respect for my enemy, Tywin Lannister. Power wins wars, only if said power is accompanied by the guidance of intelligence. And while I didn't consider myself to be the brightest mind on the world, I knew what I had was more than enough to win. Father, when do we strike our enemies? Neltharion purred happily beside me, yet another new thing I had learned about dragons. They can purr. Soon, we are waiting for a few guests, I replied. After all, having Tyrion, Myrcella, and Tommen as hostages would be beneficial. Then again, Cersei's plan was to blow off King's Landing with her kids inside. In the end, she really doesn't care about her children that much. That or the crown is more important for her. I want to fight by your side this time. I will fight by your side, Neltharion stated with determination. You mean side by side? I inquired, getting an eager nod from the teenage dragon. Very well, I don't see why not. I shall not disappoint you, Neltharion said, breathing fire into the sky out of happiness. Seeing his torrent of fire form made the words the witch shared with me resonate deep within my soul. Each fire it's different, each being channels their inner fire in their own unique way. Neltharion, how do you do that? Breathing fire. Neltharion looked at me puzzled at my question. I could see in his eyes he was trying to put words to the feeling. Words to answer my question. For me is letting go, letting my emotions fly. I picture what I want to do with a burning desire, and the fire just comes. It's all about the feelings, I guess. Feelings and faith, the fuels I had found to ignite the fire within. And knowing myself like I do, faith was not an option for me. Besides, I had originally tapped into that power before when I had gotten angry at my situation. I just have to somehow recreate that to the point I don't need anger to do it. I see feelings it is. I can feel the fire within you. It's burning brightly, but you can't control it. Neltharion added, maybe we can practice together. That would be great, father and son time, and besides, fire will surely be a game changer when we face the others. I need to control it, I smiled. I I can wait for Rhaegal and Crew to hear how I taught our father how to breathe fire. They will be so jealous. Neltharion chuckled with an evil overtone.
Haha.
Sibling rivalry. It seems that curse doesn't skip species. I laughed. So what does that letter say anyway? Neltharion asked. The Taros pledged themselves to me, and it's time to write them. I smiled as I wrote back to the Taros my letter. Lady Olenna Tyrell and Lady Margaery. Tyrell, I appreciate you two have reached out to me, and while I cherish the gesture, I consider actions speak louder than words. If your loyalty you wish to prove, you must help me when the time comes. Only then I will know for sure you are true to your words. So if you're king I am, I command you to find a way to stop the wildfire the usurpers as you call them have in my city. Looking forward to see how loyal House Tolero is to my cause. King Ronard Mormont, first of his name, Chainbreaker. Father of dragons. With the letter done, I sent one of my ravens to deliver this message. Now all I have to do is wait. Tyrion Lannister POV. It was court time, a time where my sister would leave Tommen and Myrcella alone. Drugging them was easy enough. All I had to do was offer them a cup of tea, and they were sleeping soundly minutes later. Now the hard part came, getting them out without anyone seeing us. So far it had been easy to get out of the castle, but the real challenge was getting out of the city. We have to move fast, but not too fast as to not raise suspicions. We're fine, Bronn said. Not you're not. A very familiar voice made me curse my plan for not being well planned. The Hound had discovered us. Well, that was fast, Bronn commented, taking out his blade. Put that toothpick in your ass. The Hound growled. I want in. Elaborate, I inquired. The crazy bitch of your sister wants to blow this shitty kingdom on fire if they lose to Ronard, who also happens to have a fire-fucking breathing dragon. I'm out of this fucking war, the Hound answered with a stern look, so I want in, and then out. I'll get some gold. I thought you were a knight, Brune smirked. What about your Zeros or your king? Fuck the queen. Fuck being a knight. Fuck my oaths. Fuck the kingdom. And most of all, fuck the king. The Hound growled. That's more than enough for me, I shrugged. We don't have time to chit-chat. Let's get the hell out here, before we all end burning courtesy of my sister. Agree, Bronn nodded. The Hound nodded. Very well, let's go. It seems more and more people are betraying my family. What an amusing and interesting turn of events. Next day, surprisingly for me, Tyrion arrived in the morning accompanied by the Hound, Bronn, Myrcella, and Tommen, and if I was being completely honest, I didn't expect him to actually succeed escaping King's Landing. Cersei was known for being a bit overprotective of her children, and with knowing that much about her, I expected Tyrion to be captured as soon as he tried to escape. But I'm glad he wasn't. He was probably one of the few people in King's Landing I would regret killing by accident, or on purpose. So here I was waiting for him to talk about his alliances. Your Grace, Tyrion greeted as he entered my war tent, where Ned and Jon were sitting and watching as the little man entered accompanied by his sellsword Bronn, and his recently added companion the Hound, all of them being escorted by Oberyn himself. Tyrion Lannister, I acknowledged, it was a bold move of yours to come to your enemy's camp, with hostages, if you could elaborate why. I don't support what my family is doing. It's beyond inhuman, planning to burn an entire city, just because they refuse to accept the possibility of losing. I just can't accept that. Tyrion said with conviction, I don't want to be a part of that. Fair enough, I nodded. But what do you pretend by all this? I mean, you could have escaped to any other place, and believe me, I wouldn't have followed you after all. I have way more important things to do and take care of, so why me? What do you really want? Tyrion eyed me for a second. I want many things, Your Highness, but from want to a have there is a big bridge. That's true, I chuckled. But the most important thing I want right now is your forgiveness. I want, if your grace allows it, for your grace to pardon Tommen Baratheon, Myrcella Baratheon, and my brother Jaime Lannister, Tyrion said with an almost begging tone. I eyed Oberyn, who said nothing, nor show any sign of anger, as I proceeded to answer, I don't have any problems with forgiving the kids, because I don't have anything to forgive. But your brother is a different matter. I understand your grace, but... Tyrion tried to say, but I stopped him. Your brother, while not entirely a bad person, loves your sister, and will stop at anything to avenge her. I stated, And even if he didn't want to avenge her future imminent death, he has ignored his oaths, as a knight prioritizing Cersei's cunt over anything, hurting innocents just to please the monster you two share for a sister. Well, it hasn't been confirmed. Tyrion tried to defend his brother from his incestuous fame. Please, don't. A blind man can see those kids are 100% Lannister, I deadpanned. They do, Ned nodded. Yeah, Oberyn nodded. Besides, why would you want to save Rhaime, after all he did to Tysha? It was time to break Tyrion's love for his brother.
How do you know about Tasha?
Tyrion asked, with hesitation. All I know is that she was an orphan, that you and your brother saved her, and that you married her, I stated. She was a whore, Tyrion lamented. No, I smiled. Your father was furious that a common woman dared to marry a Lannister, and with the help of your brother they captured her and had her raped by every man in your household. Tyrion tried to articulate some words, but he simply couldn't. Your brother could have let her escape or let you know, but he decided to obey Daddy, capturing your wife and torturing her. I stated he didn't fuck her, but he didn't do anything to stop her suffering. He wouldn't. That has to be a lie, Tyrion said, shaking. You can ask him, I offered, and see for yourself how much of a monster he is. I want to, Tyrion said with resolve. Very well, I nodded as I signaled one of my men to take him to Haymaze. Go and see for yourself how much of a monster your lovely brother really is. Tyrion Lannister POV. Ronard's words echoed in my head. Did Jaime really do that? It made some sense, now that I think about it. But he was my brother, the one member of my family that I thought loved me. He wouldn't do that. It couldn't be. He would never do that. Here he is, the soldier that Ronard had ordered to escort me to, Ime said, pointing to a cage on the back. Ime, I said with a cold tone, colder than I had intended to. Brother, don't tell me we already lost, Jaime inquired with his trademark confident smirk. No, not yet anyways. I answered. Then what are you doing here? Tama inquired. I have a question. The words, what I wanted to ask was, a lot of weight for me. It was hard to even think about it. A question, Cammy tilted his head in confusion. Sure, what Tisha really a whore, I asked with anger in my voice. The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. But there was still a chance. A chance Renard got in my head and played with me. A chance for my brother to be innocent. No, Hime answered, and my world shattered. That was the only way to explain it. Suddenly all my life made sense. Hime has always been somewhat good with me, but after Tysha, he had been treating me better. I thought at one point he loved me, I was his brother, but all he felt was pity. Guilt for what he did, everything made sense now. You are worse than Cersei, I said with a calm tone. At least she has the decency of being cruel up front. Tyrion, Emma started to say, but I cut him off. You are dead to me. I don't have a brother. I don't have a sister. I don't have a father. I practically hissed at him. Bye, and enjoy rotting in that cell. Renard Mormon POV. I had probably destroyed a sibling relationship with what I had said, but I didn't feel bad at all. What Jaime did had not forgiveness, and it was time for him to be judged by his little brother. You think Jaime will admit to his crimes? Oberyn inquired. I do. He is not the type to deny stuff when confronted, I nodded. How cruel can someone be? Is terrifying, Jon added. It is, I sighed. Tyrion Lannister was devastated, not even in the eyes of the hundreds, no, thousands I had killed. I had witnessed such amount of anger and despair flowing through someone. Maybe Oberyn, but besides those two, no one. Tyrion had finally realized he was truly alone, with none that really loved him, and that the one person that loved him for who he was brutally scarred for doing so to a point beyond repair. You were right, Tyrion smiled, anger, sorrow, and a bunch of other emotions, shining through his fake smile. So, do you still want to save him? I inquired, curious as to what he was going to say. I mean, I knew he was going to say no, but I wanted to know how. No, why would I? Tyrion laughed. All I was for him was a pity case. He never loved me. I never had a brother, just an enemy living with me. I nodded. Well, with that settled, I must give my terms. Tyrion looked at me and sighed. All I want now is to save my niece and nephew. I can grant you that wish, but you must know, your house will be broken. I won't let the Lannisters survive after this. You three may live, but the Lannister name will be erased. I stated with a tone they left no room for debate. As you wish, Tyrion nodded. Sorry to interrupt, but little X-Lion here offered me a lot of gold. Gold you were supposed to provide, Bronn said, breaking his silence. I want to see this, Sandor Clegane muttered with a low chuckle. Did you? I asked Tyrion. I did, Tyrion nodded. So you see, someone owes me gold, Bronn smiled. I had to admit the crazy bastard had balls, titanium balls. I will give you 500 gold dragons for your services, I sighed with a bored tone. And that's all you will get, I added, glaring at Bronn, leaving an unspoken threat in the air to not do anything rash. Well, not at all what I was expecting, but it will do, Bronn said, hiding his disappointment. What about you, Clegane? Did Tyrion also promise you gold? I asked, wondering if I should beat the crap out of Tyrion for offering my shit. He should be grateful. His suicidal plan actually benefited me. No, but I won't complain if I get some. Sandor Clegane shrugged. All I wanted was to get out of all the fire coming. Fuck that. That is probably the most relatable thing I have heard on this mess-up world, I chuckled. So, if you won't give me gold, I think I'm done here, Sandor Clegane stated. I think I have an employment opportunity just for you. He was a very strong soldier that would prove to be quite useful on the next war.
What?
The Hound inquired. Nothing much, just you doing what you have been doing until now, killing people. I smiled. Not with all this fire, the Hound sighed. Not all fights will be fought on fire, I chuckled. Sure. Why the fuck not? The Hound shrugged. Awesome, I smiled, as I was a now step closer to winning this war, with Myrcella and Tommen in my control. I had a few new weapons to manipulate the crazy bitch. Cersei Lannister POV. Myrcella and Tommen were gone, and so was Tyrion. I didn't have to be a genius to know what had happened. Tyrion had betrayed us. I knew it. All along that little piece of shit was playing us. He had taken something too important for me, and I was not going to forgive him. His death was going to be slow and painful, for he would see me roar. I had now to find a way to retrieve my cubs, my babies from Ronard, and one way or another I would. No one had any idea what I was capable of when truly angry. I will have your head, Tyrion. Mark my words. I will. I growled. Shouting into the air will do nothing, Father said as he entered the room. Your brother will pay on time for his betrayal, but this little act of defiance of him could actually be beneficial. How dare my children were away from me. And he saw this as an opportunity. How dare you? I tried to slap him, but he simply stopped my hand, holding it painfully tight. I will assume that was an ill-advised decision thanks to your anger right now, Tywin Lannister said as he slapped me with such strength that it made me fall into my knees. Learn to control your emotions, and use them for something productive. My children are with the enemy, probably being tortured. Myrcella is probably being fucked by Ronard's army, and you are doing nothing. I screamed at him as I stood up from the ground. Truly pathetic. If you actually took the time to study your enemies, you would know. Ronard is a northerner like Ned Stark, but with brains. He won't kill or have anyone raped. His honor won't allow it. Father sighed. Don't let the bear get in your head. We will win, and it would be glorious to do so without hearing you whine. This is nothing but a mere setback that we can use to our favor. How? I asked in anger. We let him come. We fight with all our might, and when he thinks he is about to win, we blow the entire city. Father answered. That was our plan before, I hissed. But now, we have a reason to flank him. He won't take the children into the battlefield, nor he will take Ime. He will be too busy destroying our armies to see the bigger picture. Father smiled. He will see us roar as he and his men burn. Unbeknownst to them, an incredibly sexy and horny raven was watching this exchange. Ka, it is I, Zeus, and as my duty commands I shall warn the Cornbringer. But first, I shall bang that cute duck I saw around the gardens. This is why we don't get any missions. Zeus. Ka. Korash, shut up, Hades. Bang the duck. I will let the Cornbringer know. Pharaoh. Mormont Ravenicus POV. I missed my father. Why did he take only Neltharion with him? I could fight with him too. I might not be as big as Neltharion, but I was ready to die for Dad as well. It's not fair, but I suppose protecting my little siblings, it's an important mission. Hey Rhaegal, want a flight? I asked as I entered Rhaegal's lair. It appears, brother, that you have clawed your way into my domain looking for a race. Very well then, let me tell you a tale about a fantastic dragon who would always tip the scales in his favor and never lose a race. Rhaegal said with a serious tone, and I wanted to kill him. Once again he was overusing dragon puns. I will murder you. I growled. As always, your responses are clawsome. Rhaegal chuckled. Say one more pun. I dare you. I growled. Alright, sorry. No need to fang me. Rhaegal said, stifling a laugh. Bevy fight minutes. I growled. For what? Oh, don't tell me. You want to fire your shot at the art of puns. Rhaegal laughed. No, I need those 5 minutes to figure out how to tell Mother I made you the first dragon to go rotisserie. The hawk I had sent to retrieve a rat came back empty-handed, and I suppose it's not entirely his fault. I was usually the one that used to engage with the animals first. But it didn't matter. I still had some choices left to take care of the wildfire. The Tyrells were my plan B. If they wanted to prove their loyalty and keep their house, they would have to help me from within. I had sent them with that idea, another letter, explaining in detail what I wanted them to do, attacking King's Landing from the inside out, destroying their only weapon against me, as I took control of it. All the Tyrells had to do was to stop the Lannister from blowing the city. As for Tyrion and his weapons, I would deal with that old cat myself. After all, he has yet to see I am fireproof. We are ready, Jon informed me. Very well, for now, we have to wait and see if the flowers are really in our side, or if we have to cut them from our garden. This was the test that would mark if the Tyrell survived or not, and I was curious to see if they would really go through with it. Garden, flowers, you sure love making puns. Oberyn chuckled. I suppose, I shrugged. Do we have another plan if the Tyrells betray us? Ned Stark asked. That is a very, very good question, Oberyn said, looking at me. Well, if the flowers betray us, or fail, I'm sad to say, King's Landing will cease to exist. I sighed. I really had nothing to fight for in that city. I already had control over the 80% of Westeros. Getting King's Landing was more of an achievement than anything else. I would actually gain nothing from it, besides some momentary glory. The people, we can't abandon them, Ned Stark said, and I could see on his eyes he was shocked by my answer. I would prefer not to, but the Lannister played their hand, forcing me into a defensive position. I sighed. You can't save everyone. That statement is especially true in times of war. Oberyn said with an emotionless tone, agreeing with me. You and I should know that more than anyone else. Lord Stark, we both lost a sister during the last war. Oberyn finished looking directly at Lord Stark. I know, but we must keep trying, Ned Stark said, showing that, like always, his honorable side was both his greatest strength and weakness. I'll be honest with you, Lord Stark, if I didn't have to fight a bunch of undead creatures that share a singular purpose, that is to end life as we know it, I would try, but I don't have the luxury of playing the long game with the others coming. In other circumstances, I would just let them die out. Food would eventually run out, and one by one the would die. But unfortunately for me and the people inside the city, I had the entire Walking Dead cast waiting for me. Humanity, at a whole, it's more important than a city. Jon agreed to both my and Ned's surprise. But that doesn't mean we won't try to save the city. Right? Yes. I mean, I will certainly try. But if I have to pick, I will let the city burn, while I fight Umbrella. I sighed. Umbrella? Oberyn inquired. It's an inside joke, I chuckled. The pain of a few for the safety of the many, Ned Stark sighed, knowing very well I was right. I know it's for the best, but I just can't like the idea. That's why I'm the king. I smiled. I make the hard choices for all of you, and many will hate me for it. But it's my job. Ned Stark nodded, with a faint smile perking on his face. A position I don't envy. Part of the job, I chuckled. Elena Tyrell POV. Reynard had offered us a deal. One that had many risks, but if we played our cards right, would save our house. And all we had to do, finding and neutralizing the wildfire within King's Landing. A task that even without us allying with Reynard, helped us. Because I was pretty sure, the Lannisters never mentioned they wanted to explode the city. I certainly didn't want to explode, so even without Reynard, it was pretty important for House Tyrell to stop that from ever happening. I gave Father his drugged tea, Margaery said as she entered the room. Good, I nodded. Any idea where to look for the wildfire? Marguerite inquired as she took a seat across me. Some, I nodded. I'm pretty sure the wildfire is under the city. If I remember correctly, the city had or still has some tunnels that the Targaryens used to use. And if I had to take a guess, the wildfire was there. A very clever spot for it, Marguerite sighed. With so many tunnels, we will have a hard time finding it all. Yes, but unless we want to burn alongside this wretched city, we must find it, and buy the young bear as much time as possible. I sighed. Things were surely not going like I originally wanted them to go. That we must, Marguerite nodded. And it wasn't like we had any other option. If we tried to escape the city, Ronard would crush us. If we stayed with the Lannisters, Ronard would also crush us. And if we didn't find the wildfire on time, well, we would be crushed, but not by Ronard, but by the Lannisters' ego. Ronard Mormont, POV. Today was, as they say, the calm before the storm, the peace before the war. Soon I was going to strike the Lannisters with all my might, either taking the city or setting it on fire. But today it was time to relax, and maybe try to understand how my fire works, and the beast teacher available right now was my son, Neltharion, who I was going to see right now. Hey Nelt, what are you doing? I stopped mid-sentence, because for some reason Neltharion was trying out jewelry. Oh hey Dad, I'm trying to find something new to add to my hoard, Neltharion hissed proudly. Your hoard? I had to be honest. I didn't. Not in a million years expect this, though in retrospective, it was pretty obvious. Yes. So far I have the first armor you threw away, the scarf you gave me a few months back, one of Mom's gold collars and some corn, but that one usually goes bad. Still trying to figure out how to avoid that. Neltharion said, showing me every single item. Wow, that armor sure is old, I chuckled. And now it's mine. Neltharion said excited, anyway, what can I do for you? Fire-breathing classes, I smirked. Yes, I mean, sure, Neltharion was apparently overly excited to teach me. Awesome, I chuckled.